Make sure it's up and running. Okay, there we go. Welcome everybody to the fourth episode of the Shadow Collective podcast. I am here with Andy Beats
Hello.
and Swampgrass.
Hey, hey.
How you guys both doing today?
Very well. How are you?
Oh, doing good, doing good.
Doing fantastic over here as well.
Excellent, excellent. Um, Here today to go over anything and everything Star Wars and just have a good time and talk about something that we truly love. So, um, this episode, we wanted to cover the last year in Star Wars 2022 and start looking ahead to what we're going to see in 2023. But before we go there, earlier this week we did get a new trailer for The Mandalorian Season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we know now that it's going to release on March 1st, which is exciting, and especially knowing that we're going to have Bad Batch going at the same time. It's like the first time we're actually going to be getting like a extended like cut between the two seasons, like where there's more stuff to watch for like a month's time than just like one thing. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That is cool. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Usually it's like one episode, or we're just like the next season starts later on, and it's like it's gonna be kind of...
especially now too, right? Because it's Bad Batch is like what 22. It's like a 22 minute episode, and you're like, all right, it's done. There we go. Next.
Yeah, exactly. Even with them adding a couple of weeks where it's gonna be 2 episodes here, 2 episodes there, it's like, yeah, it's like you get through an episode, it feels like it's done in no time. But so what'd you guys think of this trailer?
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome, I think. Definitely exciting.
Yeah, I thought the visuals, like the visuals of certain things, were pretty cool. Like that overshot of Mandalore, that like the destroyed. Like I paused it. I had to pause it and just look at it because it was just it was amazing the way it
Yeah.
looked, like visually, right? So I think it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Like,
Yeah, the one thing that caught my more than anything was the one vision, the one visual where they showed basically the four Jedi standing there with the door that looked like it was about to be broken down. It's like, wow, what other stuff are we going back into now? It's like this looks like it's gonna be something interesting to watch.
I mean, we're gonna see Hayden again. Like that's got to be the scene where he comes in again. Like they're gonna show him. I mean, he's been around, so why not take advantage of having a flashback of Hayden? You know, this may be the scene where we see Grogu, how Grogu got, um, smuggled out of there or saved, or see who did it. You know what I mean? Like this could be,
Yeah,
could be it.
yeah, and again, something I'm definitely looking forward to seeing. And it's funny though because I don't think they've actually mentioned that Hayden was going to be in this season though. Like I know they were mentioning like him for like the Ahsoka show and a couple other things, but they never really mentioned him for Mandalorian. So he pops up in there. I think that's going to excite a lot of people.
This is probably a surprise. Here's Hayden.
Yeah. So definitely, if that happens, definitely looking forward to seeing it.
Oh,
And of course, then again, they did surprise us with Luke Skywalker a couple that last season. So, yeah, you could definitely go with it from there. Don't want to get too deep into this trailer though, because we're going to talk about Mandalorian a little bit more later on. But just wanted to bring it up real quick. Just
Yeah,
talk
I just want to mention one thing that kind of got me excited is something that caught my eye and my ear is that little clip of Babu Frick there.
he is confirmed. He is in it. Yep.
That was,
Yep.
that
Yeah,
was
and
cool.
actually,
I
it
was like,
looked like looked like there was more than one of them too. So
yeah, that's true. There's a couple little
It says there's a few more of his species, yeah, as well. So yeah,
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, you'll see a little bit more of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that definitely feels like something to look forward to, and yeah, can't wait for it. But like I said, don't want to go too deep into it just yet. But um, yeah, let's move on for now. The one thing I did want to get into right away, even though we're not really going, I'm not really going to push this as like 2023 because it's kind of already happened. Is we've already gotten through what is it now? 4 episodes of Bad Batch season 2.
Yeah, 4. Yep.
So I want to get into some of those, talk about them a little bit, and see what people thought of them so far. Let's get into. We can go into these. Like I have, there's like little synopsises of the episodes that we have here. If anybody wants to help me read them off, that's great. I'll definitely do the first one. Um, but got into episode 1. It's called Spoils of War. Um, Started on January 4th. Let's see what else we have here. It says it was directed by Stuart Lee, written by Jennifer Corbett. I'm not really sure too much about them, but
Jennifer Corbett is one of the she writes the show along with Dave Filoni. Like she's one of the creators.
okay, all right. Then it shows guest voices here, and it shows Wanda Sykes as Fee Noah, which now that I hear that, I can actually I can picture it now. But the one that surprises me is it says Rhea Perlman as Sid. I would have never pegged that.
Right? Yeah, I didn't know either. Until I was like, really?
So, but let me see. Let's get the synopsis here. It says, after a tip off by our friend Fijinoa, Sid sends the Bad Batch to Sereno to steal part of Count Dooku's massive war chest to help finance a future of their own. After some reluctance, Hunter joins in. The team proceeds to the planet, where the Empire is already transporting the Count's wealth off-world. While trying to secure the valuable cargo, their presence is revealed and a battle ensues during which Omega, Tech, and Echo are trapped inside a cargo ship preparing for liftoff. Fighting their way to a cargo container, they attempt to use its re-entry thrusters to make a safe escape landing, whilst Hunter and Wrecker try to lose their pursuers in the bombed out ruins of the nearby city. What did you guys think of this episode?
I thought it was pretty cool. Kind of caught me off guard, like the way it started. It just kind of like jumped right into like they're doing that mission where they're fighting off those crabs or whatever and stuff. I was like,
You know what that kind of remind me of? You remember the scene in Pirates of the Caribbean, where Jack's running on the
running on
beach?
the beach. Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly what that reminded me. Disney, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. They might have been doing a little nod to that, eh? I
I can see that.
But yeah, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it.
I mean, I think from my own personal thing, it didn't hit me as much as the other episodes like I've seen, but there was a lot of good Easter eggs there. That's the thing that really got me. Getting a chance to go to Sereno, getting a chance to go see Count Dooku's lair, so to speak, again, and going through some of the rooms and like, wow, okay, a lot of it looks the exact same as from Clone Wars. Just seeing how much Dooku had banked on the side.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like holy. It's like wow. Okay, this. I get why they're doing this. It makes a lot of sense, especially with the projects that the Empire had going on. They needed everything they could get to fund most of it. And yeah, that's about all I got.
One thing with that episode, one of the takeaways for me is like after watching it, I kind of paused right there and decided to rewatch the last episode of season 1 because I was like, where did we leave off again? Like it was just kind of like a disconnect. So I
Yeah.
kind of went back, watched that. I'm glad I did because like as we go to one of the future episodes, there will be something that I was like, oh yeah, I glad I remember like where that came from or whatever.
Right.
yeah, I mean, there was a couple takeaways for me, like just being a huge, like such. I like Clone Wars is one of my favorite series of all time. Like I love Clone Wars, right? So just anything, any name drops, any name drop of locations, layers, whatever. Like that's cool, right? So just seeing Count Dooku's like layer, like that tower where there was a couple scenes in Clone Wars where he was there with whoever was there, and seeing how worn down or broken down it's been. Nobody's been there for years or however long it's been, um, and it always amazes me the mass, like the size of things in Star Wars. Like I know things are huge. Like you look at Star Destroyers and like compared to certain things on where we live in Earth and all that stuff. But the size of the cargo holds that they were shipping those cargo things, like those were massive,
Yeah.
like huge. Just like think of the scale of that. Like how that like and like in retrospect, the amount of stuff that he had, like either stole or just took or anything that
Yeah,
he
or taxed or all
or
those things.
taxed or whatever, like because he was I guess he was in charge of a bunch of planets, right? So he would, I don't know,
Well, yeah, I mean,
tax them or whatever, right? So he would keep all that for himself. Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of that went to, I don't know, whoever else, all the other generals or all the other whatever else. Like he just kept everything, it seemed like.
well, I mean,
Yeah,
deep
yeah.
down, he was the leader of the Separatists, so
Yeah, well that too, right? But
Yeah.
but yeah, it was just amazing, like to see those, like the little tiny, like the size of the cargo the boxes, but like they're like from far away they were so small, so
Yeah.
small on that huge ship, man. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I enjoyed the episode. Like I mean, as we talk on a couple more episodes, like there's other episodes that are a lot better already than this one. But I mean, it was a good episode. Like
Yeah, I think it had some good character development too, with Omega feeling guilty about that they were kind of going for this because it was her idea to some degree, or they were in that situation because of her, and she was feeling guilt over that because what's his name? Echo said on the ship when he didn't know she was listening and stuff. So I think there was
yeah.
some cool elements to the episode that kind of bring you into the lives of the Bad Batch.
Like you could tell she was older a little bit, it seemed, right? Like she's maturing a little bit more. I don't even know if she like as this goes on, is she gonna age? Like is she gonna grow up? Like
Well,
do
I
we
don't
think
think
that's
so
gonna
because
happen?
she's the oldest one, right?
Right, yeah, so
Yeah,
but
so I
maybe it's
feel
just
like she
because the
wouldn't.
hair was longer or whatever, I don't know,
Yeah,
but
they kind of did.
um
Well, the actress is probably growing, so
well that too, yeah. She
they're
won't stay the
trying to.
same age, yeah, but also if you notice the Bad Batch, their uniforms. The uniforms were it was starting to look like how season 1 of Mandalorian, where it's just all rickety
Yeah,
armor. Like it's
worn
like
out.
their
Yeah,
parts are like starting to wear out, and they had to replace it with like anything they can find, right? So and it's weird the colors too. You'll see like in a couple episodes, uh, uh, with the episode 3 or whatever, but the difference in colors, like they seem to be getting a little more colorful with their uniforms. And
okay,
as
yeah.
yeah.
as the Empire is just all like, you can see all the like the clones, they all had like it's all gray and white, right?
Great.
That's
Yeah,
all it is. Where it used to be in the Clone Wars, blue, colorful uniforms, right?
right.
But yeah, thought that was interesting.
Okay. Let's move on to episode 2, which was named Ruins of War. It was actually shown the same day as the first episode. Let's see, it was directed by Nathaniel Villanueva, and written by Gina Lucita Monreal. Again, two names I don't really know,
Yeah.
but I mean, let's see, guest voices. Hector Elizondo. Now I know that name is familiar. I can't think of where. As Romar Adele. And then it says here, Noshir Dalal as Vice Admiral Rampart.
Oh, Hector Elizondo. Wait, Elizondo.
Yeah.
He was Last Man Standing. He was Ed from Last Man Standing. I don't know if you ever watched the
Yeah.
Tim Allen show there. Chicago Hope. Uh, um, talking
Yeah,
of Pelham, taking a Pelham 123.
yeah. I just looked him up. I do recognize that guy.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Oh yeah, okay. Now I'm looking at the picture too. So, all right. So the synopsis goes: let's see. The cargo container crashes on Sereno's surface. While trying to make their way to the Marauder, Omega Tech and Echo meet Romar Adel, a local who is hiding in the woods. And while conversing with him, the clones get a first impression of what a free life must be like. In an unattended moment, Omega sneaks out to recover more funds from the war chest. Echo and Tech go after her, resulting in a clash with the Imperial search parties, whom the three escape with Romar's help. Hunter and Wrecker fight free of their encirclement and reunite with their friends. With the confirmation of Clone Force 99's survival, Vice Admiral Rampart, fearing punishment for his failure to eliminate him, decides to keep this fact secret from Governor Tarkin. Um, I'm finding the character of Vice Admiral Rampart is actually, I mean, obviously this is a character that's going to be there the whole way, and um, while I wasn't surprised by the move, I'm knowing how Tarkin is as a character and how Tarkin always seems to know things and be 3 steps ahead of you. I'm really interested to see how that's going to eventually play out. That is one thing that I picked up off of these first 2 episodes is Tarkin always eventually finds out. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
so it's going to be interesting to see how long Rampart can keep this up and how long before, well, basically he's dead. But
Yeah. Yeah, one thing with that Rampart thing kind of reminded me a little bit of like Andor, how we see the Empire kind of like some Imperials trying to like cover stuff up to, save face. So it's like, okay, I see how these guys are.
yeah. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, continuation of the first episode. There really wasn't much more for me to say about it. Um, the Romar Adele character was an interesting character. Just seeing them out and surviving despite the Empire taking over the planet. But yeah, for me there wasn't really much else there. I don't know how you guys felt about it.
Um, I mean, the only thing for me was obviously, I mean, that scene at the end there where he takes out the clone trooper there. What was his name again?
Uh,
The the guy he killed there at the end. I can't remember.
I can't remember the captain's name.
yeah.
Slip of my mind. But anyways, it kind of I don't know if this is the first time that we see that, the clones are like the clones are kind of like what's going on, like they're following orders, and the empire will do anything to move forward, and you know and if it means, and it feels like this is how they started getting rid of the clones too, like I know they were using them in their first rendition of the stormtrooper or whatever it is and all that stuff, but I feel like the higher the higher up clones that were like, the captains and the
Yeah,
commanders and all that
Cody,
stuff,
Cody and
they
stuff.
started like cracking down on them, and any sign of, I don't know, treachery or anything, something like that, they would just, eliminate them. Just doesn't matter. They're just another person in the way of the empire, right? It was just so like to me, it started to look like the clones were like, did we do the right thing here? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. It was a strong, I don't know. It was a strong scene. Like, you can tell, like, it's like, no, I can't do that. I can't not follow orders. Like, going against the chip, going against whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's part of why I was saying I was glad I went back to watch the final final episode of season 1 is because like I was kind of reminded how Crosshair was on Camino when they gave the order to basically shoot down Camino, and they're basically thinking of him as,
Collateral damage. Just
you know,
you're done.
collateral damage. Yeah, they don't
Yep.
really care too
They
much
don't
about
care.
him or
Yep.
the other clones. And well, they already removed the other clones, but yeah, so they basically were just like, yeah, he's down there, whatever, go ahead, shoot
Yeah.
it,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're kind of getting a very strong feeling that they don't really care too much about the clones, even though the clones are super loyal and all that kind of, programming.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing that really I picked up off of it too is it's amazing as time goes on, you see how many of these clones are suddenly without their chip also. As you go through, just like more and more of them are suddenly, you start seeing it, it's like, well, okay, well, let's see, these guys don't have their chips anymore, this guy doesn't have his chip anymore. It's like, you're starting to pick up, like, they realize something's not right and they're all starting to figure it out. But like you said, I mean, a lot of them, before it even gets that far, they're either killed off or put somewhere where they're going to end up dying anyway. And it's kind of almost tragic at the end just to see how unfortunate the results turn out for most of these guys in the end.
Yeah, I mean, also like it's also it's also crazy to see how you see more like in depth how ruthless the Empire were. Like they don't, and all these shows that involve the Empire, you see how much more deep, like you get more deep into how the Empire worked, and you're like, man, these guys were like absolute ruthless, like nothing, like no emotions. It's all for the Empire. You get in my way, you're out, you're done. Like that's all it was. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing matters but the greater good.
but the cause, that's it. Like that's
Yeah.
the Empire.
Oh yeah, by the way, guys, I took the time to look up what that clone that was killed by Rampart at the end is Captain Wilco.
Wilco, damn it.
Yeah, there it is. All right, so
But yeah, for me that was a pretty good episode. I enjoyed it. But like
I mean,
was saying,
none of these episodes are bad. Like they're good, and but some are better, obviously, than others. Like
yeah,
which is what is going to be with animation. We have what 20? How many episodes? Like 20 episodes or 22 or I don't know, whatever.
I want to say I think for this season it was 16.
Okay,
yeah,
16.
actually,
maybe.
it is 16. Yeah.
Maybe that was just me. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's the thing I understand though. But I think that's the thing I understand though is at the end, I mean, you're gonna have filler episodes. There's just no way around it. And to me, a couple of these just felt like filler in some senses. I mean, obviously, the first two episodes, there were points there that kind of almost needed to happen. Like, obviously, they needed to know that Bad Batch survived. They needed to know that. Obviously, they're trying to find ways to keep themselves so that they can survive. So obviously, they needed to go get more money, and this was a perfect way for them to get their hands on quite a bit if they were able, and they just happened to run into the Empire at that point. So I understand where the story went. Like I said, it maybe didn't hit me the way I would have liked, but I get the episode, and I still think it was decent. It's just sometimes it just works out that way.
I think in this case, like it makes sense that they aired them both at once because it kind of felt like two parts of one episode, kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that definitely helped. I think if they had done this like one episode at a time, it probably there would have been a little bit of a disconnect there. So,
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious also about the episodes that because there's a couple more times during this season where they're going to do that, and
Yeah, there's two more.
yeah, so I'm assuming those are episodes where you kind of need to watch them at the same time. So it'll be interesting to see where they go.
Yeah.
But let's get into episode 3, which for me was by far my favorite episode so far.
I think that's like straight across the Star Wars universe too. Like this episode was amazing.
Hitter.
Um, the episode was called "The Solitary Clone." Aired January 11th. Um, let's see, it was directed by Saul Ruiz and written by Amanda Rose Munoz. Again, don't know the names, but bravo to them because it was a great episode.
Yeah.
And then let's see here. Guest voices, it shows Matthew Wood as Battle Droids.
Is that the person who did Battle Droids in the past?
That's who did the battle droids in the Clone Wars. Yep.
Okay,
he brought it
so
back.
let's see. Max Middleman as Governor Groton. Shelby Young as PA voice and tactical droid, which I'm assuming they did the tactical droid in Clone Wars also.
I would have to find that out. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that one.
Let's see. Noshir Dalla as the Stormtrooper and as Vice Admiral Rampart again. And then Tasia Valenza as Tawny Ames. And if I'm hacking names here, I apologize, but
She sounds familiar. Oh yeah, yeah. I think I know that actress from something.
all right. So
Star Trek.
getting into the episode, let's see. It says Crosshair is assigned to Commander Cody on a mission to the former Separatist planet Desix to rescue Imperial Governor Groton, who has been captured and taken hostage. After a successful assault, they encounter Desix's governor, Tawny Ames, who demands Desix remain out of Imperial jurisdiction, citing the Republic's refusal to broker peace with the Separatists during the Clone Wars as reasoning. Cody argues for a peaceful resolution, but Crosshair kills Ames on Groton's orders, and Desix is brought under Imperial control. Returning to Coruscant, Cody questions whether the Empire is really doing good around the galaxy and deserts soon after. I loved every minute of this episode.
I really love that character, Aang. She was awesome. She kind of like put in perspective that like for her the war isn't over. She's still like basically to her the Empire is no different from the Republic. It's just another person trying to control you,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
that was kind of a cool perspective to see.
I kind of liked that she was always a step ahead of what was going on too. It's like every time they thought they had her, she was right on top of it, and it kind of it's unfortunate that her character had to die off because I would have loved to have seen them come back to this planet and seen what could have possibly developed as far as more fighting between them or this planet fighting to keep their freedom or I think it would have been really it would have been nice to see where they could have gone with the story instead of just killing her off right away. But that being said, still excellently done. Another thing that really struck me right off was, like you said, how everything with the clones has gone to like that white and gray. Because when Cody walks up, I mean, you've always known Commander Cody as having that white and yellow armor, and that's gone. And and it was also surprising to see that he still had his basic clone helmet.
Yeah, that's true. I did notice that. I was like, oh yeah, yeah.
So I mean, because you almost get the feeling like they were going to all be
The stormtrooper.
just either like a basic stormtrooper outfit or something very basic with the clone outfits or whatever. But it was great. It was nice to see that was all there. Wow, there's so many places I can go with this, but I mean, yeah. Before I continue on, because I could probably talk for an hour here. What about you guys?
Yeah, another point is Crosshair. Without Crosshair, I think the Empire would have had a really hard time with that whole situation on that planet for sure. He was very instrumental in taking out Ains. So.
Well, and it just goes to show how like instrumental the Clone Force 99 was. Like they specifically created this squadron for special missions like that. Like they all had
Yeah, to think
that
outside of the
extra,
box.
right? Exactly, right. And like in Clone Wars, you never saw anything like that. You like there was all kinds of battles, all kinds of whatever, like, and you never saw that kind of precision to take out. Like anytime you saw a battle tank come out, it's like ants, like just like clear, like get out of here, there's a tank coming, oh my gosh, ah, like, and then like
Yeah.
it takes like 6 guys to take the thing out, and like Crosshair just like and ding.
He's like, yeah, they all have the same weakness. Don't worry about it. I got this.
What we- out of the whole 7 seasons, we never saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Apart from like Anakin just tearing through them with a lightsaber, but that's a
Other,
little
yeah,
different.
I mean, obviously a Jedi, but like just the
Yeah.
clones, like the clones were just like in like disarray every time a battle droid tank came out. They're like, ah, like those electro bombs they're throwing and all that stuff, trying to take it out. Like, but yeah, that was cool. It was cool. Like it's just see how skilled he is with that, or
Yeah.
the
Well, even
precision. He's just
that other still shot where Cody throws up the
yeah, that's
puck
cool.
so that
Yeah.
he can do the ricochet shot. That was
Yeah.
pretty neat. I
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that was really cool.
he's like, where do you want it? He's like, just throw it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a
Like,
good scene. I like that.
I mean,
What else? Yeah, no, it was just really cool. Like just as soon as they said you're being assigned to a commander, I was like, this has got to be Cody. We haven't seen him. They got to be bringing him in, and yeah, like Crosshair, Commander Cody. Oh, it was so cool. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. Another thing I
So
wanted to
cool.
mention about this episode is when they brought Crosshair back into the story. They mentioned, yeah, we picked you up on Camino. Camino, how many cycles were you there? And he
Yeah.
says something like 36 cycles.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how big a cycle is on
Yeah.
Camino, but I feel like they picked that number to make it seem like he was there a long time.
For a while.
They didn't care
They
about
didn't.
him,
They
right?
didn't care. But and
Yeah.
like how Admiral Rampart was just like, I am surprised you're back. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he's
Yeah.
like, I am surprised you're here, but I admire your loyalty. I'm like,
Yeah,
holy
and he
crap,
just
this
says,
guy.
"I'm a soldier of the Empire." That's
Yep.
it, straight
Yep.
up.
Straight up. Yeah.
It's
very
like-
interesting.
it's great because it kind of tells you just how committed Crosshair is, and yet it just continues to add to your want to hate Rampart as you go through.
You can tell he's struggling. He's so struggling because there's those moments. There's moments where he's like, what am I doing, or am I doing the right thing? Like you could tell, like he's definitely struggling with it.
Yeah, I almost feel like he kind of reminds me of that guy from Rebels who ends up turning coat. I can't think of his name at the moment. Who was like at the beginning he was in charge, and then he failed, and then Tarkin came in and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the ISB agent. I can't think of his name right now.
But yeah, it kind of reminds me of that arc. So I almost feel like maybe we'll see him kind of turn later on or something to that degree. Could be a
Yeah, you almost get the feeling that Crosshair's going to just one day snap and just shoot Rampart. Be done.
Are you talking about Callus?
Callus, that's
Yeah,
it. Agent
Callus.
Callus.
Agent
yeah.
Callus, yeah.
he becomes the other Fulcrum.
Yeah,
Or the-
Fulcrum at the end, yeah.
I mean, I know the last thing I want to touch on with this episode is the changes they made to Cody's character. Because in Legends, I mean, the one thing I will say is Cody was always left to as like a man who was bitter as he was serving in the Empire, and I think they did a good job of bringing that about in this episode. How he was just bitter with the new stormtroopers. He was never really happy with how things ended with his place in the Empire, but in Legends he stayed with the Empire. I mean, he just sat there and he was always this just bitter man at the end until he finished serving. And here now we've seen him, and at the end of the episode he's now defected, and or deserted. They haven't necessarily said he's gone to serve with anyone else, but it opens up so many possibilities
I think
now.
they said he went AWOL.
Yeah,
AWOL was the word that they used.
but
Yeah,
I,
they definitely challenged his moral compass when they wanted him to shoot the unarmed Ains, and then Crosshair pulls the trigger. He's like, I don't care. So yeah, that
Well,
was
and
kind of
just
cool. You could feel that he's like, should I do this? Like, do good soldiers follow orders? He's conflicted.
right, like, and that's at the point where, like, I think that was the final straw right there, because with
Mhm.
the chips were programmed just for Jedi, but you can definitely tell he was a good soldier, because like, you don't want to kill this person. Like, there's other ways to get out of this situation without having to like kill, and you just see the difference between Cody and Crosshair. Like, good soldier and a soldier following orders. I mean, I don't
but
know.
even at that point, he had promised. I mean, she wasn't going to die, and the second Grodd regained control, he's like, no, just kill her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could see, yeah, I mean, you could see it's like, but I just told her I don't care, kill her. But
Yeah.
like I said, this opens up a lot of possibilities, and I mean, it now has me wondering if we're going to see that day where you see Cody and Rex back together doing something.
I have
And
a funny feeling. Yeah, that's what it feels like, but you never know, right?
yeah, you never know, but I think you're going to have a lot of excited people if you see that happen, and that'd be kind of
Just
awesome.
just imagine, like, them just be like, "Oh, Cody, Rex," and them just doing like a a bro hug.
Yeah,
Bro
I can't
hug.
imagine. I can't imagine them not having Rex in some capacity because they've already even said his name, so I feel like they're kind of alluding to it.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know we're going to see Rex in this season as time goes on, so uh, we'll see when we get there.
Yeah,
We'll see.
we shall see.
All right, so let's go into episode 4, which was named Faster. Aired January 18th, a couple days ago. Let's see, it was directed by Stuart Lee, written by Matt.
Mitch Novets.
What you just said.
Mitch Novets. So, yeah, Mitch Novets does a lot of the video editing, I think, or the story editing, I think, in this show. So
Okay.
He wrote this this episode.
Okay. And then as far as guest voices, it says Jonathan Lipow as the announcer and Jet Venom. Again, Rhea Perlman is Sid. Okay, there's a surprise. Ernie Hudson is Greenie Malegi.
Yeah. When we were watching the show, me and my buddy, I was like, "Man, that voice sounds so freaking familiar." And I looked it up, or he looked it up, and he's like, "It's Ernie Hudson." I'm like, "Oh, Ernie Hudson, Ghostbuster."
Yeah, it's like that. That's kind of cool. And then let's see, Ben Schwartz. That's another name. I can't peg it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of where I know him from. And that's as Teo.
Teo was a pretty funny guy.
It was so funny.
Alright, so going into the synopsis for this, it was while Hunter and Echo are away on another assignment, Sid takes Omega, Tech, and Wrecker to a riot race on Safa Toma to visit her cocky droid racer Teo. You sound like you want to say something.
Just looked up Ben Schwartz. The show Parks and Rec. There's
Yes.
John Ralphio is like the weird buddy that has all these like weird schemes and stuff. Oh shoot. Anyways, sorry, I recognize the guy now. He's a pretty funny guy.
I'll have to take a look. Let's see. Sid is challenged by Malegi, one of her business rivals, and his racer Jet Venom. And during the next round, Malegi orders Venom to cheat, causing Teo to lose. When Malegi comes to collect, Omega challenges him to another race for Sid's freedom. But just before the event, Teo is wrecked in an accident. Tech takes Teo's place as Sid's pilot, and using his calculative intellect to offset his lack of experience, he wins the race. Malegi honors his part of the deal, but warns the close that one day Sid might turn against them. I'm gonna say this was my least favorite of the 4 episodes. um, that last line right there, where it says warns the clones that one day Sid might turn against them. Maybe it's just me, but I mean, I always kind of got that feeling from this character.
I mean, every scene that Sid's in with the clones, you always feel like she's gonna like double cross him or something like that. So you get that
Yeah,
kind of feeling.
she's shifty.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
shifty
so
with it.
it just kind of gets me at that point where it's like, if you're at the point where you're just starting to realize this, then yeah, you guys are really, maybe you're not as good a group as I thought. But it was a fun episode. It was a fun episode, but it was clearly a filler episode for me.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of like they've done that quite a few times with like people in the bounty hunter kind of like realm of people. They're like, oh yeah, this is my buddy, blah blah blah, and then of course they're gonna try to backstab you in the end, kind of thing.
Yeah,
'Cause it's like no honor amongst thieves kind of thing. Kind of neat. But I
Yeah.
really like that they went back to. I don't know if these are pod racers per se, but like kind of back to that pod racer thing. I kind of felt some nostalgia from that.
I think they called them riot racers or
Okay,
something
yeah,
like that.
something like that. Yeah,
But it
but it
definitely
did kind of have
was.
that feel from
Yeah,
like episode one.
it definitely was a one of those Easter egg things where it's like, oh yeah, pod racing, kind of the same format in the arena of pod racing. Obviously, the racing pods are a little different, called Riot Racer, Riot Pods, or whatever they're called. But
And they have weapons too, which is a little bit different
yeah,
compared to
yeah.
the pod racers and stuff.
And
But
did you notice some of the racers too? Like most of them were droids. Like there
yeah,
was a
it's true. It
couple.
was mostly droids.
There was like
Yeah.
a battle. I think there was. Oh man, what was the? It's not a tactical droid. Like the commando droid. There was like a commando droid.
Yeah.
yeah,
Commando
I think it
droid. A
was.
couple ones that looked like C-3PO.
Yeah.
And I thought there was a battle droid in there too, but I could be wrong.
Could be. Could be. Yeah.
But yeah,
It
this
does
one
seem
was.
smart to use droids instead of whatever
Well, I mean, it's
flesh beings.
probably like there. That's the only other Jedi or anybody with the Force could probably do it, right? But you're going
Yeah.
at those fast speeds, like it just makes sense the way that Tech was doing everything, like calculating it all. It's kind of what the droids do. Like that's what they do. They're calculating their moves, right? Kind of what Tech does, right? So
Yeah, and I mean, he was built to be able to do those things, so it made sense that he would be the one to do this, and really can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, and he had a smart idea, like put all your power towards defense, drop those weapons, go faster, do your thing. Do your race.
yep. But yeah, I mean, it was an episode. Again, it's a filler. I think with a couple little Easter egg drops. Um, even though, like, I looked around online, some people are saying it could be more than a filler this episode, but I mean, like, I think they're just referring to some of the Easter egg drops and stuff that were in the show. But
Well,
Yeah,
I
or
mean, there could be a chance another episode comes up and something happens and suddenly this episode makes more sense. But I'm just not seeing it at this point.
Well,
That's what it comes down to for
with
me.
with the whole Sid thing at the end, I think they're kind of setting up. They're setting up something for that, obviously.
Yeah, a little foreshadow, or
right.
even
So
that character could even return to that Malegi.
the Malegi
Possibly.
could return. Yeah, yeah. But other than that, yeah, it was for me it was again like my least favorite, but it was still I thought it was a good episode. Like Teo was.
Yeah.
I think without Teo being the way he was in that episode, I think it would have been a little bit more boring. But the way that he was doing things, I think it made it enjoyable. It made it fun, right? That's kind of what it felt like to me.
Yeah, I mean, the cockiness of the
interactions with
character
Tech
was
were pretty funny.
the cockiness of the character is kind of really what made him.
Yeah, but yeah, like for me, Star Wars, like there's like epic battles, all that kind of stuff is really fantastic. But the thing that makes it really great is like the comedy little bits that they managed to sprinkle throughout. And I think Teo kind of brought that.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the, like I find they use droids a lot for the comedy
Mhm.
aspect of the shows, right? So like, C3PO and
3PO.
R2D2. That was the beginning, back and forth banter, and then you had K2SO in Rogue One,
Yes.
so
True.
Yeah,
it
yeah, I
kind of
mean,
feels like it's their thing. Like I know there was Han Solo as well, as he was
Yeah,
the
even
major
Chewbacca,
joker and all that
Chewbacca,
stuff.
Chewbacca, even though we don't necessarily understand what he's saying, there's a lot of funny parts where he's interacting with people and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Just his gestures, like his
Yeah.
movements, right?
yeah,
Or
but I
like
mean, you could even go into like Rebels, where we had Chopper that was used a
Chopper,
lot
yeah,
for
yeah,
that
Chopper.
purpose.
Chopper.
Yeah, it's just really cool that they can take characters where you kind of don't really understand them, but at the end of the day, you're always able to figure out what they're talking about, and you can really pull the comedy from it all. It's good.
Yeah, and in the sequels, there's like the one scene, like what I was saying with Chewbacca. Probably to me the funniest scene of the whole sequels, where they kind of rescue him, and then he's on the ship, and there's like this nurse looking after him. He's like whining, and then she's like, "Oh, you must be so brave," and he's like, "I
Yeah,
thought
I
so."
remember.
Yeah, yeah. You must be
uh,
so brave. Oh yes.
I laughed.
All right, so we've gone through the 4 episodes of Bad Batch that we've seen so far. There's 12 to go. One more coming up Wednesday this week. We'll definitely cover some more of these episodes as we get back into the flow of doing this, and um, yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I know there's gonna be some good things that are gonna come, and we'll see what happens. But I want to go back now and start looking at the past year in review and what we got from Star Wars, and yeah, just kind of go over some things. I mean, like one of the first things that we got from 2022 was the Book of Boba Fett. And I'm gonna say season 1 because I do have a feeling we're gonna get a season 2. Don't know when it's gonna happen, but I'd be surprised if we didn't get a season 2. And what did you? What were? I know we never really had a chance to really spend time talking about Book of Boba Fett, but um, what did you guys think of that season in general?
Well, I guess I'll start.
Yes.
I'm going to disagree with you with the season. I think I don't feel that there would be another one just based off of how it went. Um, I feel that these characters that they developed in the show could easily show up in Mandalorian, and I think going forward, I think the show is just a show just to kind of introduce these characters and maybe pull them into this universe. Because the way that they ended the show, I feel it was kind of you're kind of like, okay, like what's gonna happen now? Like I don't know, we're gonna see what's going to happen in the underworld, like which would be cool, but I don't know, like I feel it's kind of they're kind of pushing it. I don't feel, or they're kind of forcing it, if they go for season 2. um I enjoyed the show. I'm not saying it was a bad show. I just feel that the um I don't know, the hype of Boba Fett when he came onto the Mandalorian, and to the like compared to the show itself, was like, like for me it was like Mandalorian and like Boba Fett down here. Like I like how they like the characters that they brought into the show, like Krishantin and a few others. Like Krishantin was cool, man. Like I'm glad they brought him in. I would love to see more Krishantin. Like would love to see more Krishantin. But I just feel the flow of the show was kind of up and down. Like the first 4 episodes for me was really cool. I loved the backstory of the whole, his whole
Escape from
escape and survival, and you know uh, being with being with the Sand People, the Jawas, the Sand People, and
same thing.
yeah, that's not right. no, it's not. But just seeing like a little bit of like like inside of the world of the Sand People of it, right, is kind of cool. I like that. The backstory for me was a little bit better than the actual story going on. And then yeah, obviously something happened. Obviously they had to pull in Mandalorian into the show, like, because it feels like they kind of were looking for something to talk about. I don't know, tell. So they had to pull it in. Maybe people weren't as excited. So when Mandalorian and Luke Skywalker and all that came in, I was excited too. That was awesome. Like, good fanfare. Like for me, like that was so cool. Cool to see all that going on. But I mean, I wouldn't look forward to a season 2. Like I mean, I'd watch it if it came out, but I don't think it's necessary, to be honest. But that's just me, I feel.
So for me, I do think they will do a second season because to me it almost felt like you were saying, they're introducing all these characters. It feels like an intro to all these characters, or bringing them into the fold or whatever. But in the end, like they kind of had this little mini victory where they defend the fortress or the palace, and then they saved the fort. But in doing so, I think they've somewhat started a war with the Hut cartel. So I feel like that kind of has to go somewhere, because I don't think the Hut cartel is just going to back down and be like, he won. It's all good. So I feel like it has to go somewhere as far as conflict.
Yeah.
And potentially that's something we could see from a season 2. But I do agree that Mando's kind of up here, and then Book of Boba Fett kind of falls short. More just for me, a vibe thing. Like the Mandalorian has that really rich soundtrack that really immerses you into the story, and I feel like that's something we were kind of missing in Boba Fett. I wasn't a huge fan of the theme song itself, or the songs in general. It just kind of I'd never really felt as connected to it as I did with the Mandalorian and season 1 and 2. And then yeah, I don't know. Generally, I liked it. Same with you with like when they brought in Luke, I was really excited about that, and the Mandalorian and all of those kind of lore things. I thought that was super fantastic. But overall, yeah, kind of a lesser vibe, a little bit lower vibe than the Mandalorian. So
I, I just feel like Boba Fett in the Mandalorian show, like he was such a badass. Like he was in the show, like things were happening. He was like, oh man, he's kicking butt, right?
smashing helmets.
Smashing helmets and kicking storm, like just doing all that. And then the Boba Fett show, you're like, where's all this badassery that was going on in Mandalorian? Like, he's injured half the time. He's in back to tanks. Like,
Yeah, he's
not
soft.
doing much. He's sending his minions to do things and not him. Like, all right. Like I liked it, but it wasn't as up there with, Mandalorian. So
Yeah, and even like when the Chrysanthemum pulls him out of the back to tank and they're wrestling and stuff, they
yeah,
kind of made him look a little bit pathetic. It's like, I don't feel like we
yeah,
really needed to see him getting beat up in the nude, you know?
yeah, agreed, right?
Like, what exactly purpose does this scene have?
Making
Yeah,
him look weaker.
basically.
Like seriously,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's getting his butt kicked right now. Like,
yeah.
Um, where to start? I guess I have to preface it with the fact that it's never been a secret for those that know me, but I am not a fan of Boba Fett. I'm not. It's just not a character I care for. And don't get me wrong. There's people out there that absolutely love Boba Fett. He just was. He just wasn't. He just wasn't that to me. Fair enough. um, but I think the biggest thing about Boba Fett was the mystery around him, and unfortunately, the more I learn about Boba Fett, the less I like Boba Fett because that mystery, that cloud around him, where you don't really know what's what, and you don't know his motivations, and you're kind of going off of hearsay, or like in the part where in Empire Strikes Back, Vader stops and looks at him and says, "No disintegrations," and you don't know why he's saying it to him, but it kind of adds to that, like you said, that
Mystique.
that badassedness of him.
Badassery.
Yeah, and it's like, and then suddenly you start to watch these episodes of Boba Fett, and you're watching him sitting there, and he's petting a bantha, and it's like
He's humanized.
it's like, yeah, it's like, who the hell is this guy?
Or even like the infamous Like a Bantha thing, where he's like full smile on his face. I didn't expect there to be any
Just
scene where
smiling.
he's
Yeah, I
like,
don't.
smiling. Yeah.
It's like, does
Yeah, I
Boba
didn't-
Fett smile? No, I don't think he does. Like
Yeah, I think they made that up.
seriously.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of that played into my feelings about this Boba Fett's season, so to speak, and I wasn't the biggest fan. I do think there will be a season 2 though, because there are still possibilities for where the story can go. Like Swampgrass was saying, he's basically at a point where he's taking on the Hutt cartel, and we've seen them fight the Pike Syndicate. We still know there's other big organizations out there like Black Sun. Trying to think of a lot of the other organizations that there were, especially that were built into the Shadow Collective. Hint, hint, where I got the name of this podcast from. But there's a lot of possibilities for where this can go. And as much as I didn't care for the character of Boba Fett himself, there were some characters that were introduced here that I really did like. Like you said, Chrysanthemum comes in. I think there's a lot of good places you could go with this character. Say what you want. Fennec Shand, the more the season went on, the more I came to like Fennec Shand as a character.
She's the badass.
Yeah,
So, like,
yeah.
Well,
She's the
that's what
Boba
it
Fett
is,
of the
yeah.
show, kind of.
Yeah.
So I mean, just seeing the possibilities of what she could do, that seems interesting. The Vespas, they could take them out of this show entirely, and they could care
Fall
less.
They could fall off Tatooine. Like,
Yeah.
I like the mods. I think they're a cool character. That might be a unusual take, but I like it. I think it's cool. Brings some youthfulness into the the underground realm.
But I mean, there's still other bounty hunters you can introduce. I mean, I think they did Cad Bane wrong.
Yeah.
Because
I did like Cad Bane, but visually it wasn't what I expected.
yeah,
That makes sense.
the voice was spot on. I mean, obviously it's Corey. What is it? Corey Burton who did it? Or
I think it was, yeah.
yeah. So the guy who voiced it in Clone Wars, but yeah, I think it was spot on the way that he was, delivering his stuff and the lines and everything was awesome. And like, if it was just like here up, it would have been
Yeah.
good. But then you go down, you're like, what the heck is wrong with his mouth? Like it I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah,
cool,
even
but yeah,
the-
they messed it up a little.
Even
bit.
the eyes didn't quite like hit home the way I wanted them to. I guess I don't know.
I think the
Something
eyes
about the
were-
appearance.
They were a little bigger, weren't they, in Clone Wars? Like they were
Yeah.
a little bit more oval. I don't know. Anyways, get a little specific.
So yeah, I think that's one of the things that didn't bother me at all. I mean, because the character was so spot on to what Cad Bane was, as far as like who he is. that I just sat there and was like, yeah, I'm okay with it. And I really wanted to see something where maybe Cat Bane could have gotten away and he could be like like an ongoing threat to whatever's happening. And I think that would have been more interesting to me.
I think
Um,
he still is, right? Because at the end they show his little heart monitor there and it's moving.
I'm
So
pretty
there,
sure he's still alive. I don't
yeah.
see them bringing in a character like this and just killing him off if they're gonna move forward with another season. I think they left it hanging there just in case.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why I say it was kind of like not reaching my expectation too is because it had some hype around it. So I was like, I knew Cad Bane was coming to the show, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what it looks like. And then, you know, in my mind, it didn't quite, reach what I expected. But that said, love Cad Bane, love that they brought him into the
Yeah,
live action at
yeah,
all in general.
yeah,
So I'm really stoked to see if they do have him anymore
yep.
after this. That would be cool.
and speaking of hanging characters, at the end of the season, they show Cobb Vanth sitting in that back to tank. And I really want to know what they're going to do with Cobb Vanth's character. Because that's a character I actually truly like in this universe. And I want to know where they go with him. So that would be one of the few reasons I really want to see a season two. Um, in a time where, like I said, it's a character I don't care enough about. But there's, I mean, I still think we're going to get a season two. It may not be right away, but I think we will get it. Um, but that being said, let's move on to the next one, which was the one that everyone was anticipating, everyone was excited for, and that was season one. And I'm gonna say season one because I still think we're gonna get a season two of Obi-Wan Kenobi as well.
There could always be the possibility of another season because it's Disney and they want to produce as much out of this as they can. So you never know.
Yeah, they they love that
They love it.
Skywalker type story. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean that being said, this is the one where I think they should leave it alone and they shouldn't go back and add to it. I think they could leave it right here and I would be perfectly happy with it. But I do feel it's coming. Um, but Obi Wan Kenobi, what did you guys think about that? Because we didn't really talk too much about. I think we might have talked about an episode here and there, but
Yeah, partway through the
I think we might
season,
have. Yeah.
I joined you guys on one of these where we talked about. I want to say like the last few episodes. I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but
I
yeah.
don't think we caught the end of it. But overall, what was your take on?
Yeah,
You can go.
I
You go
thought
first.
it was all right. I'll go first. Yeah, I thought it was pretty awesome. Obviously, a huge fan of that character and pretty much all the characters in that show, other than maybe Owen. Don't really care about him too much, but but yeah, the Inquisitors. I really was happy to see Inquisitors come into the live action fold. Again, not super keen on the visuals of one particular guy there, the Grand Inquisitors, but or the Grand Inquisitor, I should say. But that's okay. It is what it is. But yeah, I really liked seeing them brought into the live action. Since like most of us, we already knew about the Grand Inquisitors, and we've heard many stories through like Clone Wars and comic books and all that kind of stuff. Or no, not Clone Wars.
Season one
Rebels.
Rebels. Yeah.
Rebels. Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and of course the character arc for Kenobi himself was really fantastic, really well done, and can't say enough about how much I love that battle with Darth Vader at the end. Just so good, or maybe not the end, but you know what I mean, towards the end. And yeah, that was just so great. One thing I wasn't super huge on is like the Leia character. I feel like they're pushing too much of her being awesome, personally. Like at that age, she's like basically a super spy kid. I don't know. Seemed a little bit of a stretch, but it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. So yeah, that was my overall general impression of the show here.
Yeah, I mean, this was a show that I love. Like Kenobi was like the one thing that made the prequels for me was Kenobi in those prequels. Like I my favorite character in that series, like those three movies. So, um, uh, okay, no, I was wrong. I love Kenobi, but my favorite character is Anakin. But anyways, Kenobi was great too.
Same.
But it's just cool to see, yeah, like the arc of the story, like the him dealing with all those demons in the beginning, like he can't having a hard time using he's had to suppress his powers for so long, not being able to use it because he's hiding. So him trying to talk to Qui-Gon in the beginning and then finally getting it at the end, like but the arc of him slowly getting his powers back and slowly getting his confidence back and all this stuff, it was I thought it was very well done. um the Inquisitors, obviously, like, love the Inquisitors. Like I've always wanted to see more Inquisitors. Like I'm always, I know there's a bunch in comics and stuff as well, but like just the I've always been interested to see how many there was, how many have been around, and how many Vader's killed, and how many, all this stuff. Like it's a very interesting aspect of the story, like of that universe. So, um, but just to see a couple of them, like, it was pretty cool. Um, again, like, yeah, the Grand Inquisitor, whatever. Like his look was his look. Like it was. I still think the actor that um played the Grand Inquisitor did a great job.
Hmm. I
He
agree.
he, he did really well. Just his voice and the way his demeanor and all that stuff too, right? So I thought it was good. The two lightsaber duels between. Oh, I mean, I don't know how much. There was a little bit of lightsaber duel in the first battle between Vader and Kenobi, but it was more Kenobi being
Yeah.
terrified of this being, oh my gosh, like, and he doesn't have his powers, and like he's getting his butt kicked and like all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Vader like lights that area on fire. And it's
Yeah.
like,
And then like and then switching to the last battle between them, which was fantastic. Like, just to see like how strong Kenobi was. Like you could see a lot of it right there. Because I mean, we all know Anakin was strong. Like he was the strongest Jedi, ever, right? So, but you could definitely tell. I like seeing little aspects of like Vader struggling as well, struggling with the whole thing. Like as soon as he knew that Kenobi was alive, he's like, oh, it's not the Empire anymore. It's my vengeance to go after Kenobi and want to settle this and finally kill him, right? And then just like at the end there, when the Emperor's like, "Are you done with this Kenobi thing?" Yes, I'm done with it. Like all this, like it's just,
yeah.
I don't know, the struggles, right? It was really really neat. And again, like it's the writing, excuse me, the writing of the show was really well done. And yeah, I mean, I know you didn't like Leia. Like Leia was, I think Leia was a neat character. I liked how they brought the two in. Um, Obviously we saw more Leia than we did Luke, um, but she was. I think she did a great job with the role. Like she did a fantastic job, um, playing that part. Was it a little over the top? I agree, a little bit, but I think it was fine. Like it was fine in the long run. Hold on.
Dying over there?
Dude,
That's
Chad.
fine. That's fine. Hydrate. Let's go.
But anyways, yeah, it was a great show. I loved it. I'm with Elder. I think they should leave it. I don't see them, but again, like it's Disney, right? So you never know. I
Yeah,
just
I
don't
can't
know.
really picture where they would
I
go
don't know
with
where they
it,
would
but
go. Yeah,
I'm sure they could figure something out if they
yeah, of
really wanted
course,
to.
of course. they could probably get like they can push it a couple years and like have the two kids be a little older, right, and get other people to play these characters. You never know. Like I have no idea. Like I mean, there's still a bunch of stories that they could do with Kenobi. I think like well maybe a few like isn't that the whole Krishantin thing with Kenobi? I remember us talking about that before when Krishantin was like introduced on Boba Fett. We're like, oh, maybe because he had the scar on his face over his eye, and in the comics it's given to him by Kenobi or whatever it is between a battle between him and right. So
Yeah.
it's a possibility, but I mean I'm with Elder. Like if they keep it at season 1, I'm totally fine how it ended, right? So sorry, my voice is like
No worries.
I'll tell you what. I'll do a little talking. You can take a drink, and we'll keep you going. All right. So as far as the Leia character, I get what you're saying. She was a little too. She's a little too know-how for her own good. I agree with you 100% there. That being said, the character itself fits. I mean, the fact that she was all over the place, a little bossy for her own good, it kind of played well into what the Princess Leia character was. Even as you go into A New Hope, I mean that was the kind of character she was. So I thought that was actually done really well. And the fact you gotta keep in mind, I mean, this is a 10-year-old character, so I mean, some kids are just gonna play it over the top. It's just the way it is. So, I mean, that being said, I think I like that they. I don't know if I necessarily like that they brought in Leia, but it was an interesting way to bring the story about without rocking too much of the boat with Luke. Because the one thing I did like was they left the Luke side of it alone. Obviously, they showed him keeping an eye on Luke. Obviously, his confrontations with Owen, which, whereas you weren't a fan of Owen, I love the Owen character, to be honest with you. It's everything that character was supposed to be in Legends, in canon, and I thought it was. I thought I can't remember his name, but to bring him back afterwards to reprise the character, I thought he did a perfect job. And
Joel Egerton.
Yeah, that's it. And I love him as Uncle Owen. Yeah.
I am actually glad they brought back the same actor and like kept it consistent in that way. I'm just saying I don't really care about that character a whole lot personally.
I mean, I think it laid the precedence down for him not being a fan of Kenobi, because it was very well known that he was not a fan of the Jedi. He was not a fan of Kenobi. He wanted Luke to stay away from it all entirely, and I thought it played well into the story, especially as it goes on, because it didn't change anything for me, and I thought that was well done. My only real, I think you guys covered a lot of my points that I would have gotten into. I think the only real disappointment that I had from this whole thing was we never got a chance to see Kenobi more into his strength fighting. I wanted to see him fight an Inquisitor. I wanted to see. It didn't have to be Reva. It didn't have to be the Grand Inquisitor. It could have been one of the other ones. Just somebody going at him, thinking, "Oh, I could take this Kenobi on. He's not that powerful," and just watch Kenobi toy with him. Yeah. The way that Vader toyed with Reva when the time came. And just understanding, just so that one of them would understand, holy crap, this Kenobi is actually really good. Because you never really pick that up. Where obviously Vader would have known, I hate him, but I know what I'm up against. the Inquisitors, the one thing about the Inquisitors was they tended to be cocky. You could see it through Rebels, you could see it through some of the books, and they always thought, well, we know all about these Jedi, we know all their details, who trained them, what their lightsaber forms were. We know exactly every little tick about what makes them work, and we have an answer for everything that they're gonna do. And it would have just been interesting to see them try to do that with Kenobi and be like, "Holy crap, no, he's good." So I do feel like that was a little disappointing, but it's something I can live with. Um, the other thing I liked about this series was the way they showed Vader's blind spots, so to speak. Um, because I think it was something you brought up, Andy, but how the minute he knew Kenobi was alive, suddenly he was like, I, where is he? I have to go, I have to confront him. It's like, that was clearly a blind spot for Vader. He not only wanted to kill him, he wanted to torture him, and and at a point in that first battle that they had, he could have just killed him and finished him off, but he wanted him to suffer, and that kind of cost him in the long run, and that was the problem.
Yeah, he
And
wanted to burn him like he got burned. It seemed like kind of
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
equal revenge thing.
yeah, I mean, he wanted to break him. He wanted to see him suffer. I think it would have even been better for him if he, through that suffering, was able to turn him. So it's you could see it all in the way Vader was, and I think at the end of the day that's kind of what cost Vader in those battles.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
there's one thing that I forgot to mention before I started not being able to talk. The the flashback scene between Kenobi and Hayden, or yeah, Kenobi and Anakin. They're doing that fight, just practicing or whatever it is, and they're in Coruscant and they're training. It's a training thing, and I thought it was super cool just to have that scene just inserted
Yeah,
in
to go
there. And
back to that era,
oh man, yeah, it was so
that was
cool.
cool.
Like,
Yeah,
And I love the way they paralleled it into the episode as well.
yeah, that's yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, again, like I said, I'm happy with where it was left. I wouldn't. I would obviously I would watch the hell out of a season 2, but I don't need it.
I think we all would, but I mean, yeah.
yeah. One
Um,
comment I want to say about that Kenobi season before we do move on is, unfortunately, it brought out the ugly head of the Star Wars fans community once again, just like the Rose Tico thing. Just like a lot of blind hatred towards the actress who played Riva. It was really sad to see that. That's like one thing. That's what happened with Rose Tico in the sequels there, and it's just so like I hate seeing that stuff because I feel like these are my people, the Star Wars fans. These are my people, and then to see them act that way is like it's sad. No place.
And it's sad too because like if you like for me if like I watch you watch interviews and of the actors that play the characters, right? And especially her, she was, as anybody would be, super excited and super blown away that they're in a Star Wars show or anything Star Wars. So you could tell like her excitement to be in in this show was like beyond what you can imagine, right? So it's just sad like people are just yeah, like oh, it's, whatever they
They're
said,
just
like
yeah.
it is sad for sure.
Basically, they're just upset to see like a female being in a powerful role. For some reason just makes people upset, and it's really unfortunate.
Yep.
See, and I think to take this in a different direction, um, I wasn't the biggest fan of her character. but it was more due to the way I felt that the writing of the character was a little off. It didn't seem 100% what I would have liked to have. I would have liked it to have been. I just thought in some places it was just a poorly written character, and unfortunately, that's the way I felt about the Rose Tico character. I felt it was a poorly written character. But at no point in any of that time did I say, "Oh my God, it's the actor's fault." It's just, hey, they did the best they could with what they were given, and you can't hold that against them. And that's the way I feel about it. And it's unfortunate that people do that, but yeah, it's just like, yeah, it shouldn't happen. You don't like to see it. Um, if
Yeah,
you don't,
I get behind that. I understand like where you're coming from with that. I do think that her character was far better written than the Rose Tico character. Like I feel like that is something that was poorly done, and like you said, not the actress's fault at all. But yeah, it is sad to see people, you know.
well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, you got people that are doing the best they can with what they're given, and I mean, it's the way I feel about a lot of the characters in the Star Wars universe. Not for nothing, I feel bad for Hayden Christensen. I mean, I think I think prequel movie Anakin Skywalker was poorly written,
Yeah, absolutely.
but I think Hayden Christensen did as good a job as possible. I think even if you want to go back to episode 1, Jake Lloyd, he did. He's a 10-year-old kid. 10-year-old Anakin Skywalker was an extremely poorly written character, but it's a 10-year-old kid, and there were open death threats put on that poor kid, and it ruined his life. I mean, the kid was in insane asylums. He was on suicide watches. I mean, people were. They said there were people at conventions telling him to kill himself. It's like, you're telling a 10-year-old kid to do this. It's like, why? Just because you didn't like his character in a movie? This is utter stupidness. It's something that should never happen, and I don't care if you're a 10-year-old kid, a woman, or Hayden Christensen. It shouldn't happen to any of these people. Never mind, just period.
Yeah, true. But also too, one thing to add about some of these poorly written lines for these characters is some of that is what we some of our favorite stuff. For me, like the I hate sand scene, like his speech about hating sand, and then how Padme is not sand, so he loves her, um, is one of the funniest bad, cheesy, terrible things. It's like good, bad, bad, good, whatever. So bad it's good. Yeah,
That's why prequel memes still reign to this day.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Alright, so moving along, kind of hard because I mean, Andor season 1 actually came up first, but I want to go, since it's a shorter run. I'm gonna go into Tales of the Jedi, which came out last year as well. 6 15-minute episodes covered the time, some of the time of early Count Dooku and even early Qui-Gon Jinn during that period. Plus, we got 3 episodes about Ahsoka Tano. If
do you want me to go first, or?
you guys can fight for whoever wants to go first.
So I really hated this show because it was too damn good, and it gave us such a small taste. And I was like, no, I need at least 30 more episodes. What's going on here? It's over. Why is it over?
I
Like,
agree.
also too, I like with the trailers. I feel like I felt like it was going to be more immersive than it is. Like, not that I didn't love the direction that they went, but it's essentially two stories where I thought maybe we were going to get a collection of, you know, multiple different stories from different eras, different viewpoints and stuff. But really, we essentially got two stories: the Dooku turning into like a villain, whereas and then the story of and Ahsoka kind of growing up and uh becoming a Jedi and stuff like that. So, but yeah, absolutely love the show. Super, super awesome, but just such a small, tiny taste that it left me certainly wanting more, a lot more.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. I enjoyed, like, I honestly, for me, like, the Dooku stuff was more intriguing because that those stories were kind of like, I would love to see a full season of Dooku. Like, that was, to me, was really cool.
Mhm.
We saw a whole lot of Ahsoka in Clone Wars, and I'm not saying
For sure.
I love Ahsoka. Ahsoka's great. Like, anything with her is good too. Anytime you see Anakin, it's great. Clones, whatever. But uh, it's just the Dooku stuff. You're like, it's one of those one of those things where it's like you haven't seen enough of it, and like you
Yeah.
saw you saw the young Qui-Gon, which was cool. Which, yeah, that was awesome too. But you see, like, the turn, like you see when Qui-Gon gets killed by Darth Maul, and he's talking to what's Yaddle?
Yaddle.
Yaddle? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Yaddle. Yeah. I wanted to say Yondu. But that whole scene there where he's standing in front of that tree, and it's just, it happened right there. Like, and to go back and be like, man, in he was in that story at the end of episode 1. Like, he wasn't there, but he was there, you know what I mean? So just to kind of place him there, it was super cool to like to fill it in. um but yeah, the Dooku stuff, I would love to see full season of Count Dooku. Like, that was so cool. Just to see more of his, like, more of the stuff that he did, like his skill with a lightsaber, battling more, like, just anything Dooku, man. It would have been really cool. But overall, yeah, I wanted more, just so much more. So much more, but it was so short. But even
Yeah.
the Ahsoka stuff was really cool too, though. Like the whole, like, how that one episode kind of goes from the training into the last season of Clone Wars there, what they how they really bridge that. That was super cool.
Mhm.
I think for
Yeah, I
me,
thought that was awesome.
that was great. I guess the only, like, for me, the first episode, I wasn't too interested. Too, like, it was like the least one of my favorites of the whole thing. But I mean, obviously, it's, starting off Ahsoka or whatever it is. Um, but yeah, I want more. I think I would love to see them do this kind of thing with Tales. Like, I think we talked about this before, the Tales of the Sith,
Mm.
and see a version of that. That'd be super cool. Just to see, like, go way back, you know, with the Sith. See, like, the early Siths and all that stuff, the Dark Lords and stuff. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, lots of lore there for sure.
Yeah, there is lots of lore, and they can do it. And Filoni is attached to this, and anything Filoni touches is gold.
Mhm.
So I think if anybody's going to do it, it was going to be Filoni, like, and I think they can do it. So, great
Yeah,
show.
I
Yeah.
like the I like that episode one though, for two reasons. Because we got to see her mother and that she was this hunter, this strong, brave lady. I thought
Yeah,
that was kind of cool.
yeah,
And then also because my brother, like, he hasn't seen the Clone Wars and stuff like that, but like me, he's a big Star Wars fan. So for him, he's like introduced to Ahsoka through that episode. So that
yeah,
was kind of neat.
yeah. No,
Kind of cool.
and I'm not putting the episode down. Like, it was still a good episode. I just, for me, like, it was just, I don't know. Like, maybe it was just because I've seen so much Ahsoka. I don't know. Like, it's
Mhm.
hard to say, um, but it was, yeah. I don't know.
No, I mean, I get what you mean there. I mean, if I had to rank the 6 episodes, it was probably number 6 on my list too. So it doesn't mean I didn't like the episode. Just
Right.
I like the other ones a lot more. But yeah, like you said, the biggest things that pointed out to me were just number one, like you said, the bridging of Ahsoka's training into her at Order 66, and the idea that Anakin basically trained her for that moment without realizing he trained her for that moment. With the moment where he's trying to kill her, he basically prepared her for that moment. That kind of sat in my mind instantly. It's like, wow, that's nuts.
That's great writing. That's
Yeah.
like, absolutely. Like, you know.
Yeah, and on the other side of it, I loved all the Dooku stuff. The Dooku stuff was amazing, but the fact that the moment where he basically becomes the Sith Lord, he becomes Count Dooku, Darth Tyrannus, the moment where he kills Yaddle, it's basically happening at the same time as Qui-Gon's funeral. And it's just the parallels there also, and it was just like, wow, holy crap, this is it's intense. And I could have watched, like you said, 30. I could have watched 50. I could have watched 150 more episodes of that.
Make it anime long, like 100
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's like you know, 3 episode series that just endlessly go.
Yeah. But I mean, on top of that, I'd be happy to have 10 more seasons of this. It doesn't even have to just be these two characters. I would love to see. Excuse me. I would love to see episodes of Ayla Secura. I would love to see Kit Fisto. There's so many Jedi that are out there that I would love to see just these little bits and stories of that would just I would be all over it. I'd be watching it every chance I could. And even Tales of the Sith, I mean, if we're never gonna really touch or go into like any kind of series or movies about, like, say, a Darth Bane or Exar Kun, just ideas of having just little shorts where we could see some of that as it's happening, that would be I would love every minute of it.
Or yeah, even young Palpatine as a apprentice and stuff. That'd be kind
Right,
of cool as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many places it could go.
That'd be so cool. Oh man.
I mean, even looking back and seeing like maybe an early Maul when Palpatine started training him, that would be something interesting to watch. I would love that. So, yeah, I could talk about that for hours too. But
I love it when people do know all that Sith lore, because like for me, like I don't know a ton about it. I know some from like playing KOTOR and stuff like that, but I don't really remember that stuff that well. So like certain streamers, I'll be hanging out there, and then I'll be like, "Oh, but what happened with this Sith?" And then they know like the whole story, and I think that stuff is pretty cool.
Yep.
yeah, but it's just amazing how something that very quickly came out of the mind of George Lucas and now has grown so much that
Like, guys,
no problem. But the idea that it's grown so much that less than half of what's out there now is actually from the mind of George Lucas.
Yep.
But yeah, well, it's just amazing. But we can move right along here while that's going on. Brings us to the last thing that really came out this in 2022, and that would be Andor season 1. And I would love to say, I know we've been talking for a little bit here, and we still have a lot to cover, but
Well, there's a few things we can fly through there at the end.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a.
but I mean, I almost feel like you can't really just like skim over this. There's a lot there for Andor.
But I feel that we did cover a bit of Andor though with some one episode or two, or I don't remember, but we did one at least. I think I thought.
We might have done one, but I don't remember. But that being said, I mean, I have to admit, when Andor was first announced, I was like, I don't know about this. This is, I mean, I mean, I liked Rogue One, but I don't know how I feel about this character. He wasn't really even my favorite character from Rogue One. Is this really going to be as good as I hope? I just don't know. Um, but then they started bringing out the trailers, and as the trailers started to hit, oh my god, it's like, there might be something here. This might be an interesting story after all. And once we started getting into it, it was a slow burn. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, if they didn't put those first 3 episodes together, I think they would have lost the audience right off. But once all those 3 episodes came together, it was like, okay, I see what's going on, and there's something potentially good here, and it ended up being an amazing series. From my viewpoint, I loved every minute of it, and it was great how it showed that you can put a great Star Wars story together without any mention of the Jedi, any mention of lightsabers, the Force, and it was just a lot of seeing what the Empire truly was and how the rebellion started and some of the real sacrifices that had to be made to get the rebellion going. But oh my god, I loved it. I am looking forward to season 2, and um, yeah, I don't know what else to say other than that. But what about you guys?
Well, okay, so this is kind of like in my wheelhouse because I love I love stories that start off slow and build like the way that this show did. Like, and I was with you. I was like, okay, they're making a show about Andor. All right, this is gonna be, you know what I mean? Like, but then the hype started going, and then when they played they played the trailer at Star Wars Celebration last year, and you're like, okay, this is gonna be a good one, I think, right? So, and then you just start thinking, oh, who are they bringing in? Who are they pulling in? Blah blah blah. So, so the show starts, and yeah, it's a slow burn, like you said, but for me, I love story, like the storytelling of shows, like when it's done right and written well, directed right. I got him. Great kid. I think they brought in, you know, great actors to play these roles. Some returning actors, obviously, with a few of them. But man, yeah, like some of these episodes were just absolutely fantastic. Like, you know, like everything with the prison stuff and you know, the Empire side, the ISB, seeing the inside of the ISB a little bit, right? Because it's one of those things where we haven't really seen too much of. We've kind of seen the director Krennic. He's, you know, has that white uniform. Well, a whole bunch of them in there, and I don't think he part of the he was part of the ISB, or was he was the science division, wasn't he?
I think he was Science Division, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But anyways, but yeah, and it absolutely shows, like, as well with all the how well it was written and directed, and the props and the I don't know, everything else, like all the nominations the show got. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed all the nominations that the show has been getting for, you know, for this show. Like, it's, you know, I absolutely loved this show, and it was probably storytelling wise, it was probably my favorite of this past year, in my opinion. I loved it. It's great. I can't wait for next season. Yeah. So
Yeah, for me, I do love it. I think they did a really great job with all the storytelling and all that, but I feel like for me personally, it probably wasn't my cup of tea. Like it just wasn't really up my alley. But there's two parts that I really, really, really enjoyed, and that's the prison stuff, like you were saying, that really captivated me and kept me interested. And right at the end, we had this nice little ship with lightsabers on it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Honestly, that was the coolest thing of the whole show for
I
me.
know,
I
right?
thought that was really, really awesome.
You're like,
I
who
would
is
love
this
to see
guy?
more of that.
Who is this guy?
I would love to see that again. It just was that was cool. I was like, damn, look at that. I had
That
to watch
that
it. I rewinded and watched it again. Watch it
that
again.
ship is
It was
coming,
cool.
so go. So
It was cool.
watch.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would be down. So yeah, for me that was the two best parts of it that really that I liked a lot. But yeah, do think they did a really great job. Like I said, not necessarily for me my favorite, but I did enjoy the show, and in general I liked it. So it was good. Actually, also too, I wanted to say I kind of felt the opposite of what you guys were saying. Like when I heard that it was Andor, he was one of my more favorite characters from that show, mostly because he felt like he had a like dirty past, like something. Honestly, I don't think they really even showed enough of his past to like really give a great feel of like who his character is. Still, I think there's still some mystery about like who he, why he's so like such a badass.
I think we'll see a lot of that in season 2. Like, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I kind of had the opposite perspective on that part. That I was really invested into the character Cassian going into it. So yeah.
Couple things I want to touch on, just going off of what you guys said. Um, I did notice the awards, and I'm as happy as I am for all the nominations that they're getting. The one disappointment is I still think Stellan Skarsgård got shafted, because my God, what he did with that Luthen character, I thought was amazing. And that little monologue he gave towards the end of the season about his sacrifices, I think that might have been one of the most well given monologues in all of Star Wars. Period. And between that and how well Mon Mothma was acted through this entire series as well. Seeing, like I said, seeing the sacrifices that she had to make in order to get the rebellion started was amazing. I mean, basically the sacrifices of her family, um, just it it was extremely well done. I mean, between having to sacrifice her daughter, not being able to trust her husband, her cousin is out there fighting in the trenches, and meanwhile you have to go into the Senate every day where you're being watched and you're not trusted, and you have to put up this face that basically says, I'm not the threat that you think I am, but I'm so much more of a threat than you even realize. I thought it was so well done, and I think that she should have gotten some kind of award consideration also, which I'm surprised she didn't.
Agreed.
But yeah, I think that kind of covers everything I wanted to say with the series, because I mean, there was a lot of good there to me, and yeah, it is funny to see how we kind of had different viewpoints of it.
Yeah.
Whereas you and I, Andy, weren't all that excited in the beginning, and were way on board, and then Swamp was excited for it, and then it didn't really hit as he wanted it to.
And this is what I love about this kind of stuff. This kind of debate, like this kind of everybody's got their own opinion about Star Wars, and it's their opinion, and you respect that. You respect it. You don't have, there's no hate. You don't have to hate. You just respect that. Some people like certain things, some people like other things. Like, hey, this is what it's all about,
Absolutely.
right? The talk, the conversations, right? I love it.
And that's what makes it more fun for everybody.
Exactly. If everybody had the same opinion, it'd be boring. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
That's why I love being here for the
Yeah.
Shadow Collective to hear like your guys' perspective on and even just to share my own perspective. Like the exchange itself is quite enjoyable. I really like these
yeah,
podcasts, guys.
yeah, yeah.
Heck yeah.
Fun times.
All right, cool. Um, so continuing with our, we've kind of covered 2022. Let's get into what we are expecting this year in 2023. And again, we've already started with season 2 of the Bad Batch. We still have about 12 episodes to go. Um, it does look like there's some exciting things there. Hopefully, we'll see more. But let's start really with Mandalorian season 3. March 1st, it releases. Like I said, it will run at the same time as the end of the season of Bad Batch, which is exciting because, I mean, for the month of March, I mean, we get to pretty much not just wake up for Bad Batch, we also get to wake up for Mandalorian as well, and that's kind of exciting.
Yep.
But this week they did come out with, they announced who the directors were for the episodes, and I went through and I looked at the list, and they have 3 returning directors, who were Bryce Dallas Howard, who, in my opinion, is
Fantastic.
honestly, she has become probably my favorite director of a lot of the new content. I don't know what it is. This woman is 100% dialed into Star Wars, and in my opinion, every episode she does just gets better and better. From the first couple episodes she did of The Mandalorian, to what was my favorite episode of Boba Fett, which I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't even excited for. And then, yeah, she just seems to be dialed in. I kind of want to see her get a movie. I think
Which episode of Boba Fett was?
she did the one where the Mandalorian came in, and
Oh, okay, yeah, that was
and
a really great episode.
yeah, so I mean, she just seems to, like I said, she just seems to be dialed in, and she understands Star Wars right now, unlike in a way that not a lot of people do. So, um, but Carl Weathers is also coming back to do another episode or two. Um, he's had some fun episodes of The Mandalorian. I think he's done a great job. I love his character, Grief Karga, and I love watching him direct some of these episodes, and I'm glad that he's actually out there doing that. So I'm excited to see him come back.
That was something cool in the trailer too. They show him with this very royal-looking outfit and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this pimp
Yeah.
over here.
So it's so fitting for him too. It's just great.
Yeah.
And then there's Rick. I'm gonna probably hack this name. Famuyiwa, I believe it is.
Yeah. Something like that.
I think you got.
I think
got it.
You're almost bang on, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's back again, also to do another couple episodes, and I'm trying to think of what his episodes were. I know there was a notable one from season 1. But he seems to be doing well, and I kind of hope it's another good episode or 2 or whatever, however many he has. But the 3 new names that came up were Rachel Morrison, who I actually looked up, and she's actually the cinematographer for the original Black Panther movie, and she was actually nominated for an Oscar for that. So I don't know enough about her outside of that, but hey, I mean, I'm hoping that she comes in and does some great stuff.
Rick did the in season 1 The Prisoner.
Yeah, and it shows too also chapter 2, so the second one where basically we're introduced to Grogu. Well,
Okay.
the child.
The child.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're introduced right at the end of chapter 1, but that
But when we really got to know who the character was,
That
yeah.
prisoner one was one of my favorite episodes
Yep.
too. Like the whole heist feel, that was pretty cool,
And
and some cool cameos and stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And he was one of the ones in the X-wings as well at the end of that, where they came in and they
Oh, is he like
yeah
the director?
he's one
Is
yeah
the
he's one of the
oh,
three.
cool.
So like Filoni's one of them, and I
Uh,
think Deborah Chow and Rick is the other one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
That's cool.
is that the same guys that appear in Mando season 2 when he's they're no like
Nope.
when they're telling him to land the
No.
Razor Crest or whatever? No,
No,
it's not
those
them.
are two different guys. One of them actually is
Okay.
a Canadian from he's in a it's like a convenience store show or whatever it is.
Oh, Corner Gas?
No, not
No,
that one.
no.
It's like but a Korean family have a convenience store, but I
Oh,
can't remember.
Kim's Convenience.
Yeah, he's
He's in there.
he's in
Okay.
that. So yeah.
You guys have definitely got me on that one, but
Canadiana, a little bit of
Yeah.
all right. So, and the last two names that came up here were Lee Isaac Chung and Peter Ramsey. Don't know much about either one of these guys, but hey, never know. And it's the beauty of bringing new people in. Always the possibility of great things happening. So, again, hopefully we'll see great things from them. And
So the one thing that I noticed from that list is I don't see Filoni or Favreau directing in this season.
Oh,
Whether or not it's like maybe they're not slated on there, or maybe they have a
yeah, they
surprise
might
one. I
not have
don't know.
mentioned them
Well,
just because we know them as like the core two.
Yeah.
well, I know Filoni is not on this list because he's been all in on the Ahsoka series.
Yeah, he's been
Oh,
yeah
okay.
that's his baby there. So I understand that for sure.
Yeah, as far as Favreau, I'd be surprised if he didn't at least do one episode, if not more. But even then, I don't.
I was surprised they didn't bring back Robert Rodriguez. He did a one of the I think he did the Boba Fett series.
I think that's kind of why they didn't bring him back. And it's not it, but don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm saying like terrible series. They thought he was bad, but I think they had issues with him in the making of the series, and that's what ended
Is
up
it like
happening.
is it like Rodriguez like the Night of the Living Dead guy?
Yeah, he's
Or
basically
like
he's kind of one of the like students of Tarantino, if I remember correctly.
um
I want to say like he start going into like all those when Tarantino was doing like the Grindhouse series stuff.
Machete Kills. He did those movies. I think Machete isn't that a Tarantino stuff? Sin City. He did the Sin City stuff.
Um,
yeah. I'm pretty sure
like I
that's
s-
the guy who like basically invented zombies as we know them today, like back in his early career.
I mean, I know
What's his
Quentin
first name?
Tarantino is a huge influence
Robert
on him.
Rodriguez. He did Desperado back in '95. Desperado, Sin City, Planet Terror, From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, From Dusk Till Dawn. Yeah, that was a gooder. Yeah.
Speaking of things that Tarantino was in,
Yeah.
Grindhouse. Yeah, there's Grindhouse right there. Anyways,
but yeah, like I said, I think there were issues with the directions he took, and it's not necessarily like people didn't like it, so we don't want you back. It was like you kind of went on your own with some of this stuff, and we didn't like it. So
Yeah, a guy like him, like he's a pretty big shot, so I'm sure he has that mentality of like,
well, he
oh,
probably
this
has
is
that.
my project, I'm doing it this way, and they're like, ah, no, this is Star Wars. You don't get to
Yeah,
have those liberties per se.
he's got that
and we
Tarantino sort of mentality. Yeah.
I mean, it's weird because I mean, you think of somebody like a Tarantino, it's like, oh my god, the thought of him making something Star Wars would be amazing. But at the same time, I really think about it. It's like there's nothing about Tarantino that would really scream Star Wars to me either. So
I would love to see him do a scene like where like somebody somehow is hallucinating some kind of dream and Tarantino directs that dream or something
Just the
like
dream.
that. Yeah, just the dream.
it's like either that or I could see Tarantino doing like a torture scene somewhere, like for like the Empire or something like out of hand. But that's about as far as I could see it go.
That would be an expensive scene. You gotta pay him for just one scene. Like, imagine.
But that's
Well,
why I could never see him really doing it. I think at the
yeah,
end of the day,
the reason
because
I
it would
say
just be
that
so
though,
much for so little.
yeah. But the reason I say that though is because like Sin City, we mentioned is a Rodriguez movie. He paid Quentin Tarantino to do one scene. That was the one where uh there's a dead cop or something in the passenger seat and he's got a cigarette hanging out and he's talking to him, but he's like hallucinating that he's talking to him. So really it's his alter ego. And yeah, Tarantino directed that and that was probably one of the best parts of the movie for me. And
I didn't
yeah,
know
I think
that.
that was a cool idea.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
Mhm.
Okay, so after going into that, go ahead. Looks like you want to say
Just
something.
one more thing. There's two roles, unrevealed roles that we don't know. Christopher Lloyd and Tim Meadows, two actors that are in this show, but they haven't been given roles yet. So Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future, and
Mhm.
Tim Meadows from well, I guess SNL, but he's on the Goldberg show, the
Oh, okay.
the counselor.
Yeah, I know who Tim Meadows is. So
So though they haven't been given roles yet, but or well maybe they have, but they're just unrevealed to us. But and Babu Frick, Babu Frick,
Nice, nice. Yeah, I didn't realize
he's there.
Christopher Lloyd is still alive. That's an old dude.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's probably gonna be some Empire dude,
Hmm,
no doubt.
I could see it.
that would
Or
be
maybe
interesting.
some weird scientist or something in like
Hey, maybe,
I don't
maybe,
know.
because they're bringing back what's his face there from the first season, the
Hmm,
doctor
hmm.
or the scientist or whatever.
Could be interesting to see where that goes.
Yep.
But that being said, guys, any expectations for this season?
I'm expecting to hear that lovely theme song that I love so much. Like literally, like season one, season two doesn't matter. Like while I'm in the process of watching those, like if I'm in the shower, I'm humming that song. If I'm working, I'm humming that song. Like it's so good. I love it.
The soundtrack is really good. I have it on. I have a full list of. I love it how they release it on Spotify too. Like they release it just by chapter, so it's like chapter, and there's like 10 tracks from that chapter, and then there's 10 from the next chapter, 10 from the next chapter. So there's so much music. Like it's so great. It's really good
Yeah,
stuff.
it's funny. I'll play some of that at work sometimes, and it drives my boss nuts. It's like, why are you playing that? It's like, because it's good stuff. Leave me alone.
But I
um,
mean, expectations. I guess. I mean, my expectation, like this show's been great. So I mean, obviously we have a little bit of an expectation of how it's how it's gone so far. So, um, but I'm excited for the Mandalore stuff. Like I want to see more. Like I can't wait to see how they play it out. Like who else is going to be a Mandalorian? Like because in the trailer you see a bunch of Mandalorians, and I don't know
Yeah,
if it's like
and
what I
they
mean.
look pretty cool too.
They look pretty cool,
yeah,
man. Like right, so. And to go back to that scene where the overshot of the destroyed Mandalorian city, right? Like that's so cool. Like I paused it and just to look at it, you just to soak it in, right? It's really
yeah.
cool.
I
Really
think
cool
it was
scene.
it was amazing just to see the blowing up of the dome
Yeah, in last season, yeah.
and how they kind of made it so Terminator-esque at the end.
Right? Yeah, that's cool.
um, because you see the dome in Rebels, you see obviously you see it at the end of the Clone Wars when they're going there, and it just I kind of almost am looking forward to hopefully seeing how we got there, how we got to that point where this is what they decided to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of hoping we'll see that along the way.
Maybe we see a flashback of Bo Katan. You know what I mean? Like a flashback when she was a child, and all these like Mandalorians and being in the Mandalore and all that stuff. That'd be pretty cool to see.
Okay. All right. So from there, the next thing that's coming up this year that's actually going to be close is the new Star Wars Jedi Survivor video game. And that's something I'm really looking forward to because Fallen Order was a fun game. I had a great time going through it. The story told there was great. Um, I'm I'm not sure if we're going to see more Inquisitors in that game, which I know you were saying something about you like seeing new Inquisitors. I think it's a perfect opportunity to introduce more. Um, but I want to see where this story has gone. I'm not sure how far into the future they said it was 3-4 years. Um, it should be interesting to see how this Cal Kestis character has grown and how much of a threat to the Empire he's become. I think that's really kind of covers everything I wanted to say about it, but what do you guys think?
Go ahead, there's one.
Yeah, this is not really my realm. I never really played Fallen Order. I've watched streamers playing it and stuff like that, and it's pretty cool. But for me, it's not really my. I don't play those type of games. When I was younger, I really played a lot of Force Unleashed and stuff like that. So I feel like that is kind of the same genre and stuff. But yeah, just not really my thing anymore. But I am glad to see people are excited for it, and it's good for Star Wars, and I like Star Wars, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also a game I haven't really. I have the game, and I've been trying to get around to playing it, but I haven't done it yet. But I have seen the story, and I've seen the playthrough and stuff, so I know the ending and all that stuff, and I like I like how it ended, and I like what they're bringing into this, and obviously it's about I don't know if it's about him being the Jedi survivor or if it's about that other person that's in the back to tank that is another Jedi survivor. I don't know, um, but it would be cool to see more Inquisitors, because I said it before, I love Inquisitors, but I mean, if they don't, they don't. Um, but it'll be a game for me that I will only get when it's really cheap because I'm cheap.
Fair enough.
But I will say that again, like it is great for Star Wars for sure. To have this kind, and this is a new story. It's not like it's something a character. This character was made for this show or for this video game. So it's just it's a cool different aspect of a story being told that can drop into that whole like um, Order 66 and after Order 66 kind of stuff and how to survive being the last Jedi or one of the last survivors and all this stuff. So I think it's
um,
cool. I think they're doing a great job with it. Like,
do you guys want to continue this for a second? I need to step away for a second. Sorry.
yeah, sure. But yeah, it's it's cool and they're doing a great job with it. And I think what is the name? Cameron Monaghan. I think he's truly enjoying doing this kind of stuff. I mean, anybody would. I would any Star Wars fan would love to be in a Star Wars anything, right? So,
Yeah, is that
uh,
the voice actor for Cal?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's really enjoying. You can tell like the interviews that he does for it, like when they're doing their tours or whatever it is. Like he's very involved. he's learning the whole thing. He's learning the universe. Like you can tell um he's very versed. He's versed in it because, you gotta know what's going on. Like you gotta, in a sense, like if I was in it, I would want to know, you know, what's happening, what's going to happen, what happened here, like all this stuff. Like you know, it seems like a lot, but I mean, they're having a good time, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. Obviously, yeah, and they enjoyed the first one, so it's great.
Yeah, I definitely, like I said, it's not really my realm, but I can definitely see the hype in the Star Wars world based on that character, Cal Kestis. Like,
Yep.
I played Battlefront 2. They're doing some kind of promotion where they have some kind of skin with him or something like that, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like people are really hyped about that character, so
Yep.
I think that's a positive thing for sure.
Yep. No, and yeah, I think I don't know what their plan is to keep going after this. I obviously it seems like it could probably continue. It's a video game, so they could probably keep going. I don't know, probably two or three more, maybe. I don't know. Like you never know, but it seems like a story that could keep going.
Hmm.
Um,
For sure.
and depending on what's going to happen in this one, like I'm excited just to. I'll be watching the playthroughs. I won't get to playing the game. Obviously, I haven't played Fallen Order yet, so I won't get to play this
Yeah.
game. Like, but I've almost turned on Fallen Order. Like I have. I'm almost about ready to play it. So, uh, but yeah,
Yeah, the thing
it'll
for
be a
me of
while.
those style of games, platform adventure, I guess you could call
Yeah.
it. For me, like I said, when I was younger, basically the biggest thing is I had a lot more free time. Like nowadays, like I'm busy
Yeah.
streaming, busy doing all this stuff. So mobile
Yep.
games for me are just so much easier because I can like play it wherever I am, do whatever.
Mhm.
I pretty rarely have time to like, okay, sit down at my computer or a console and just play for the next couple hours, whatever the case may be. It's just not part of my lifestyle anymore, unfortunately.
I
But
hear you.
at COVID, when that stuff first kind of happened, I had a month off of work, and that's when I played through again Force Unleashed, the classic,
Hmm.
and that was an awesome experience. I really enjoyed sitting down and playing through that again, and yeah, so I do enjoy those type of games. I just don't have the time for it essentially.
Yep.
So so
Well,
I don't know if he's coming back. Do you think we should move on to
I mean, we can move on if he's not here yet.
yeah.
I don't think he is. Okay, let's move on.
All right. The next one I don't really know much of anything about, so if you want to take the lead on that, Star Wars Visions.
Well, Star Wars Visions. Star Wars Visions. The first season was basically a bunch of anime shorts
Oh
from
yeah,
different
yeah.
anime companies, right? So a lot of these anime companies put in these small 12 to 14-minute episodes of whatever stories, different stories, and some of them were fantastic, like absolutely like really good. And there was a few that you're like, okay, like that's kind of weird, but okay.
Back.
like
Yeah,
there was a few of those, but
I really really enjoyed the Vision season 1. I was kind of drawing a blank there at the beginning, but but yes, one thing I also really liked about it is talking to people about it because it does seem like everybody kind of a different episode resonated
yeah.
with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
So
just like it's the same with like cuz I'm not huge into anime. Like I'm not a big anime fan. Like and it's one of those things where I don't have time. Like there's so much anime out there and a lot of anime shows seem to have long seasons and
yeah,
it's
very.
just, you know what I mean? So it's and at this point now like it's hard for me to catch up and I just don't have time for that. But
Mhm.
like again, like different anime shows resonate with different people, right? So it's just cool to see people's different aspects and different enjoyments in these, and there's just the different visuals, the different way that the animations are done for each one.
Yeah,
You're like,
the
it's
different
totally
like
different.
styles of
Like,
art and
yeah, but
yeah,
it was
and also
cool.
like
Like,
different perspectives too, right? Like some of those directors, like the first episode, okay, so it's more like a samurai style kind of feel, right? You got that like feudal Japan kind of feel to it.
yeah,
Director, he's absolute legend. Most of his stories are that feudal Japan samurai style of art, so it's really great to see, from his perspective, what you can do with the Star Wars storytelling and stuff like.
yeah,
And I think that's kind of like what it's all about. Really, is taking these really great directors and seeing what kind of stories they can tell through the lens of Star Wars, right?
yep,
So cool.
yep, yeah. No, it was really cool. Like, the samurai one for obvious, and it's funny because the first one, the samurai one, was like one of my favorites. Like, it was
Mhm.
really really well done. Like, I loved it.
Yeah,
And
even just
if
the
you're
way
saying
he.
if you're saying that he's like that, I probably would love more of his stuff. Like,
Yeah, most
um,
likely, most likely.
but there's that one, and there's the one with the twins, the
Mm.
two twins. That was another one of my favorites, and the elder one was really cool too. I like the old man, the old man.
Like the old man, the like Sith guy,
Yeah. Nah,
or no, no, never mind. That's the one with the twins that they
yeah.
fight a Sith guy, old Sith guy, right?
I
Or no,
think I
that's
can't
the guy with the
remember.
apprentice. That's the one with the apprentice. Yeah,
Well,
maybe I should watch
the elder
that.
one is where like they fight the elder, like this old, like shriveled up old man
Yeah,
on
yeah,
a mountain. Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that
That
one.
was a
I
cool
love that.
one.
I
That
love
was a
that
cool
one. And
one.
there's also the one where there's a bunch of like a bunch of Jedi, and they were like lured to this place to kill the Sith, but it was revealed that they were all Sith, and like it
Oh
was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, you're
was
talking about
like that was
the one where they had there weren't enough lightsabers to go around.
right. And it changed the color of the lightsaber changed, I guess, based on
Yeah,
your whatever. Like, I was like, that's cool.
yeah, that
And
was
those are,
actually one of my favorites.
yeah,
And for me, actually, the one that surprised me the most was there was, I think it was like the fourth episode, and it was just the one with like this girl who was trying to hide her powers, and there was like some kind of wedding, and they were trying to um and there was some kind of ceremony they were trying to stop, and she came in out of nowhere, and suddenly, as a person who was afraid to use her power, she finally used it and was able to stop this guy. Right. and and at first, when I started watching, it was like, I don't know about this one. And as the story went on, I was like, surprisingly, I kind of like this story more than I thought I would. And it was like, I think it goes back to what you guys said, how different stories hit people differently, and with these, and it was like the one. It's like here I was at the end. It's like the one story I didn't think I would like so much ended up being my favorite one, and yeah, the first samurai one was amazing, and I'm kind of hoping that there's like another chapter to that when this comes out.
I think a few
Yeah,
people are hoping that like some of these stories continue, into another 12 to 14 minute sequence. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
yeah. I think that first one is kind of hit everybody. Like it's like the one that like I don't know resonated the most with like
yeah,
the majority, so to speak.
yeah,
But one that I know that not a lot of people were a huge fan of, that for me was very like had a very strong sense of nostalgia, was the one that kind of like reminded me of a Mega Man or an Astro Boy,
Astro Boy, yeah.
kind of a
yeah, I
thrill,
know what you're talking about.
like the like
The
again,
robot.
ships with lightsabers. I think there was like some kind of crazy thing going on there, like because they were trying to hunt him down and stuff. And
It
I don't know, it
it
just kind of
it
had a cool like early '90s nostalgia to me.
it did, and it kind of gave me like a sort of a Pinocchio feel too, a little bit, like
Hmm.
because the wasn't there
The
Wasn't
guy who
there
built
the
him,
the
guy,
creator and he
the dude.
died and
Mhm.
then
Well,
he
he
had to be
also looks almost identical to the Mega Man scientist guy, Dr. Light. So that was kind of where, you know, it was kind of cool. I like that.
I would say I mean the nostalgia for sure. Like that's the first thing when I saw the the being. I was like, man, that's Astro Boy. Like that's Astro Boy, man. Like
Yeah,
that's I watched Astro Boy as a kid.
yeah,
But for me, yeah, that was probably my least favorite, to be honest.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. I
I
think
think
for a
I have
lot
to
of
agree
people
on
that
that.
was the case. But for me, number one, loved it. But I also did like those. I think everybody kind of liked that samurai one, and the one that you were saying about fighting that guy on the mountain and stuff. I really like that one as well. That
yeah,
was probably
the elder one.
second and third favorite. Those
Mm,
two.
yeah.
I feel like the wedding one I didn't like as much, but um, like I said, I feel like I need to rewatch this show because there's a lot of it that I don't really remember. So it's
Yeah.
definitely something that
Yeah.
might be worth another go.
Well, it
Yeah, I
seems
mean it's
like it
been a
too,
couple
right?
years.
Yeah. Well, it also because the episodes were so short too, right? You don't remember. For me, I don't remember. Some of
Yeah,
the
it's
the wedding one is not coming to memory here. So like I'd have to watch it again.
mhm.
But I think I remember at the end of it, it was actually the one that we were talking about with all the Sith and and they were trying to find the lightsabers. That was the one that I was seeing in my head. Out of all of them, this is the one they need to turn into a series. Because I mean, you could do that as kind of like an alternate universe kind of Star Wars, and it would be. I think it would be exciting to watch. Just to, I mean, I don't know if they could do 50 episodes like standard anime or anything, but but I think they could have turned into like almost like I think what is it, like Afro Samurai. They like condensed everything down to like 12 episodes, and it was just really well done. And I
Yeah,
think
that's
something like
really
that would be
good
awesome.
show.
Um, think this is supposed to come out sometime towards the early summer.
I was seeing spring, but who knows? They could push it, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought we were planning on seeing that Star Wars Eclipse game this upcoming year too, but I looked it up right before we went live here, and I found out that there's not really a release date yet. It's still in the works.
I think that game got pushed back quite a bit. I want to say they were saying like 2026, 2027 before we see that. The one game they were talking about that is actually going to come out fairly soon, probably next year. Next year is the Ubisoft game, which is supposed to be like an open world Star Wars game, and they're basically saying it's going to be like Star Wars No Man's Sky, where you could basically go to anywhere in the Star Wars universe. You can do different things, and it's just an open world game with lots of stories everywhere. And you can pretty much pick up and be whatever you want to be. And I want to say if you live out in, I want to say their main studio's out in Sweden right now. If you live anywhere near that studio, you can actually go there and beta test the game right now.
Oh, cool.
Obviously you have to sign NDAs, but it's not even like one of those things where you could sit there and like do closed beta like on your computer at home. You actually have to go to their studio to do it. So they're keeping it under wraps like that deep at this point. But that'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think we'll be talking about that fairly soon.
Sure. Yeah,
um,
I think the idea, but with the called the Eclipse game too, is kind of an open world thing. From what I understand, it's supposed to be somewhat like a Mass Effect.
oh yeah.
Like, I don't know if the developers had anything to do with Mass Effect per se, but that was kind of the narrative of what I heard about that game and its potential release.
um, I'm not sure who's behind the game at this point.
I'm looking it up. It says Quantic Dream, but I'm not sure if I've ever.
Oh, Quantic Dream. Do you ever remember hearing of the game Detroit Become Human?
Oh, okay. No, I have not, but I am seeing a picture of it now that I'm kind of looking it up.
Yeah, very story driven. That much I know. But I mean, it'll fit well into Star Wars if it gets there.
Yeah, it kind of looks futuristic and stuff like that. Kind of cool.
But I would say let's keep let's move on to the next one, which is um, they are saying that we will probably see this year. It's probably not going to get pushed back into next year. But Ahsoka season 1.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'm excited for this. Um, it's weird. It's like on one side I'm very excited for it. On the other side of it, I have small worries because there's places they could go with this story that could really mess things up if they don't do it right. um, yeah, I mean, obviously we've seen the Ahsoka character. I think Rosario Dawson does a great job of playing the character. I'm not worried about that. I think she'll be amazing.
Right.
There's no way around that. Obviously Hayden Christensen's coming back as Anakin Skywalker.
Right.
I don't see an issue there.
Of course not. Yeah.
The casting of Sabine Wren and Ezra Bridger. I mean, because obviously the main bulk of the story is they're going after Ezra Bridger. It's something I don't know if it's the part of the story I need to see in my life, but I get it. But the one thing that I'm really looking forward to with it is live action Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Which is still the role is not filled yet. I don't see, unless, well, I mean, I don't see any names.
Well-
The Grand Admiral Thrawn is not there yet, so
Well, it's funny because the rumor that had flown around was that Lars Mikkelsen, who is the guy that does the Thrawn voice in the Rebel series, was supposed to have the role. But if I remember correctly, I think this past week, Lars Mikkelsen came out and said, nobody's approached me with being this character. So it kind of makes me wonder. Yeah, you're right. It could be 100% bull. But at the same time, it almost makes me wonder, are we going to see this character in season 1?
That's
Or-
what I'm thinking too. Like,
It's like maybe he is the guy they want, but maybe we're not going to see him right away. Which that doesn't bother me as long as. But at some point, I want to see a live action Thrawn. So
Yeah.
it-
One name I kept hearing in rumor mills that everybody would love to see is Benedict Cumberbatch. But the thing about that, you're looking at a pretty heavy price tag there too.
yeah, and I mean it's not that they don't have the money, but I don't. Yeah, I just don't know.
I could see him doing a really great job of that role.
oh, of course,
personally,
yeah.
But yeah, it's
I
hard to
could
say.
see I could see this whole show being mostly on, of Ahsoka and like Sabine and all this stuff, and then I can see them doing, just casting this, the guy who's doing Ezra, just be like the last episode of the season, and then they plan on, casting Thrawn for season 2. You know what I mean? Like, and having all this going on in season 2. I can totally see that. Like, because the way it seems to me, it seems like they're gonna tackle the what is it, the worlds between worlds sort of aspects. I think.
Oh
like,
yeah, like how they
um,
went into that.
in Rebels there, or was it
Yeah, with
Rebels?
the owl and stuff. Yeah, Rebels.
Yeah,
Where they went in and like where Ezra pulled out Ahsoka, and before she got killed by Darth Vader and all that stuff, right? It seems like it, because if you look at the title for Ahsoka, it kind of looks like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of has that feel, right?
Yeah.
And if this whole Hayden's in the show, so I feel like it's either going to I don't know, they're gonna have different scenarios where Ahsoka's in scenario rather than somebody else, or I don't know, like
I mean,
it feels like that. Like that's what I feel is gonna be like. Like
but I think at the same time, I think that's the part that scares me the most.
oh, is it okay?
Because depending on what you decide to pull out of that world between worlds, you could really screw a lot of things up.
It's true.
Yeah, messing with timelines and all
But
that.
I
kind of
think
stuff.
this is why Filoni is 100% focused on this show. Like, if anybody could pull it off, again, I think it's Filoni. But yes, it's very tricky, for sure.
I mean, given everything, I think Filoni's the only person I trust with this story.
Yeah.
Outside of George himself, honestly. I mean, outside of George himself, Filoni's the only one I trust with this story.
Well, he's mini George, so
and that's why. Because if anybody was going to mess with this story, they would at least have the most dialed in way to do it. As far as Kathleen Kennedy, who knows where this could go. But even then, you just get somebody that just doesn't. I mean, I'm gonna go there just because I'm still not a fan of Rian Johnson doing anything Star Wars. For a guy who came out and basically said, "Look, I didn't care for this character, so I didn't really do much with him, or I didn't care for this or that," I could see him going in and saying, I didn't care for this character, so let's just pull him out here. We'll kill him in this spot. It'll throw off the timeline for everything. But I don't care, because now that character I don't have to deal with anymore, and that's done. And and it messes a lot of things up along the way. And I just don't want to see somebody who could be very careless with this going into this area. That's all it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would hate to see them mess with the fabric of our Star Wars space time continuum.
it could implode.
Yeah.
But like I said, that being said, I mean, I am looking forward to the show. I do want to see it.
Of course, yeah.
I just don't want to see them screw it up. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, I do have high expectations for it because Ahsoka Tano has been Filoni's baby from day one, and I can't see him messing this character up.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to see some of the filler of that, which is kind of weird to say, but just because I'm so attached to the Ahsoka character, I want to see her, having a coffee in the morning and doing whatever she does,
A day in a life of Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah, maybe even a shower scene. That might be asking too much.
Rosario Dawson. Yeah.
All right, so now
After hours.
I'm gonna get into these two shows here, but from what I know, I believe Star Wars Skeleton Crew is still slated to show up this year. But I have a feeling it's gonna get pushed to next year. Excuse me. I don't know enough about this show other than Jude Law's in it.
That's the only thing that's there. Jude Law. That's it.
And
even with Acolyte, there's like a full list of actors that are already cast. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
But I mean, we know it's Jude Law, and we also know it's supposed to be, from what we know, a story of a bunch of kids lost in the Star Wars universe trying to find their way home. It's supposed to have a Stranger Things kind of feel to it, which doesn't really seem much to me because I've never watched Stranger Things. Oh. Yeah, I'm one of those. We can go there right now.
You gotta watch it, bro.
Let's move on. we can get into this. Let's just keep going.
but yeah. That being said, I don't know enough. I don't know enough to really say what I expect from it or what I anticipate from it. So, I mean, it's just.
I expect Jude Law to do a good job because he's a fantastic actor. But beyond that, yeah, not sure what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when I think of Jude Law, I can't really think of anything that I didn't think he was good in. So yeah, I hope he's gonna do a great job, and I hope it's a great story. But I just have no idea where this is going. Anybody want to throw anything else out at that, or
not really? I don't know enough about it, so
that's fair. And then the last one, another one. They claim we'll see this by the end of the year, probably sometime around December. But again, I have a feeling it'll get pushed back into 2024, and that's The Acolyte. And this is supposed to be a show that's coming out towards the end of the High Republic area, which is, I believe they said, which is about 100 years before the Phantom Menace.
Yep.
And there's so many. There is a list of characters. I couldn't tell you who they are.
Here's the premise. It says right here. So a former Padawan reunites with her Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront are more sinister than they ever anticipated. That's it. That's all it's there.
I mean, from what I've picked up from what I've seen, it looks like we're going to start seeing the mystery of the Sith unfold through it. So the expectations are, I kind of almost expect to see Darth Plagueis here. Potentially his master, which I can't remember his name. I just can't remember at the moment. And potentially we could be leading into, depending on how this series goes, how the timeline goes with it, we could be looking at, obviously we'd be looking at a little bit younger Yoda, and potentially a young Palpatine. And
yeah,
and I mean, if we're gonna see some young Palpatine stuff, I'm all in. I mean, I would love to see how he got where he was, anything about Plagueis, and just them setting this whole thing up. And I just think that would be an interesting story to me, because obviously we get into the prequels and we know in the plan is already in action, so to speak. So seeing them plan it would be awesome. But that being said, I mean, there's you're still looking at a time when it's like the golden age of the Jedi, even if we're towards the end of it. So there's a lot of stories it seems like you could tell in this. So it should be interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see some more lore come to the screen. Obviously, be fantastic.
Okay.
That's about it.
That's
all I got
honestly, those last two shows, there's not a lot. I mean, we don't have a lot of stuff on it. Like I said, the Acolyte has their actors already cast for the show, and Skeleton Crew doesn't have much, right? So you can't really specify what's going to happen with these, but it would be cool for sure. Yeah, with the whole dark side stuff, we dive a little bit more in the dark side. Like that'd be a neat thing to get into. But other than that, yeah, there's not much really to talk about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like that's something. I mean, I feel like those two shows were going. Well, to segue everything in here, I think those are two shows we're going to hear a lot about come April when we go to Star Wars Celebration. which is going to be in London this year. I wish I could. I wish I could have gone. I think it would be fun to go do that. One of these years, I am definitely going to a Star Wars celebration.
Same here. That's my bucket list. One of them.
Yeah.
It's got to be in Canada though for me. So.
Well, I mean, I don't think Canada would stop me. I would go to Canada. But I would love to see where the next one is going to be. If it's United States or Canada, I might try to set something up. I don't know.
Go back and forth from North America to Europe, right? So
Yeah.
back and forth. So it's
I mean, it just comes down to whether or not they'll do one next year or if they're going to wait a couple of years on this one.
because it used to be every 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And COVID hit, and then we didn't have one for like 3 years because they skipped one. They had to cancel it, and then that's why we're having back to back last year and this year, I think. So
Yeah. But I mean, I know Celebration this year we're going to get a lot of talk about probably the last couple shows we talked about. Like I said, Skeleton Crew, Acolyte. I'm expecting we're going to finally start seeing our first trailers for Ahsoka.
I expect a Ahsoka trailer at Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah. I believe Jedi Survivor might be released by that point, so I don't think they will. Yeah, so it'll already be out at that point. We might get something for Visions, and then the big thing that's coming out of this is they're going to start announcing the movie schedule again, and that's the thing that I'm most excited for, because I want to. As much as I love all of this stuff that we're getting on Disney Plus and just being able to watch shows, I really want to get. I want to get back in the movie theaters. I want to be able to sit down and watch a Star Wars movie again.
Movie's still a thing?
I guess so.
Apparently. But I mean, it kind of almost leads to. I mean, with the Skywalker saga, so to speak, over now, it kind of starts leading into where we're going to go from here. I mean, there have been ideas. Obviously, Rogue Squadron is not on the table anymore, which kind of has me upset because I really was looking forward to that. But we still have a Kevin Feige movie that hasn't been announced yet. We have a Taika Waititi movie that hasn't been announced yet. There's still rumors that Ryan Johnson has a trilogy sitting there, but
Don't say his name.
I mean, we might as well just get it over with.
I knew you were hesitating there.
But I mean, it's there, so I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't think we'll get that announced at all. So I'm not going to trust that. But I know there's a couple other people that they mentioned with potential movies. Obviously, we know nothing at this point. So, but even if they could just lay down the groundwork and say, "Hey, 2024 or 2025, we're getting our first Star Wars movie back in the theaters," and then 2 years down the line, we got another movie, and just let us know something that's going on. Because, I mean, as much as I love Star Wars for what it is and what we've been getting out of it, the main thing for Star Wars is movies.
That's where it all started.
Yeah. So I just want to see them bring some more good stories that we can go into the movie theater and watch. And outside of that, I mean, I'm not sure if there's anything you guys are excited for with Celebration coming, or.
But yeah, I can agree with what you're saying about the movies because, like, I think I told you guys this before. Me and my brother kind of have a tradition of like going to the movie theaters together and watching the Star Wars movies. So I'll definitely look forward to eventually doing that again. That'll be cool to see what's up and coming for the big screen for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, no. I'm excited for the celebration just to see
Mm.
what's new and coming out and all that kind of stuff. Just general.
it's been my thing of like I take 4 days off, and I kind of try to watch it on YouTube. So it's become a thing every year for me, or every 2 years before. But I truly enjoy it. It's just you just put it on and just see what's going on, and just wish you were there, and and just soak it in. That's kind of what I do. So I'm excited every time there's a celebration. Like, I love it.
I mean, I don't take days off, but I know I usually get home from work and wherever that day was. I mean, because usually it's by the end of whatever they were broadcasting on YouTube, and it's like, oh well, here's 7 hours of footage. Well,
Yeah.
let's start at minute number one, and that's gonna play for the next 7 hours in the house while I'm doing stuff, and so
Yes, there is that. You can go back and watch it, but I do like watching it live. It's just,
yeah, I get
it's
that.
become a thing. So
But I mean, I just love it for the trailers, the announcements, and just everything that you get out of it. And so, yeah, I'm just looking forward to it all, and I just hope we get some good stuff this year. So, that being said, guys, we have been here for a little over 2.5 hours talking
Almost
Star
3
Wars,
hours.
which is kind of awesome. I mean, I love to. It's like I said, I love sitting here, being able to get together and just having the talks, and I want to thank you guys for being a part of it, and as always. But is there anything else you guys want to throw in before we call this an episode, or?
I just wanted to reiterate that I really do enjoy these podcasts, hanging out with you guys and sharing perspectives and learning you guys' perspectives about different shows and all that kind of stuff. Always a good time. And yeah, let's do it again for sure.
yeah, I
Definitely,
totally agree.
definitely.
It was a fun time. It's always fun to talk about Star Wars. I mean, there's so much. I always say that I can talk about Star Wars for hours and hours and just keep going. And I love the back and forth, whether it's with you guys or like when I when I watch the shows every week. I have a friend over, and we watch the show, and then we talk about it. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do in the world, and I wouldn't change it. So I appreciate hanging out with you guys and whoever's here, and it's can't wait for next time.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so that being said, I think we're gonna call that an episode, and so Andy, where can we find you?
In my bed. No.
I'll be
Uh,
there.
the best place to find all my stuff. I have everything on a Linktree link, so it's linktr.ee /Andy_beads. So linktr.ee /Andy Andy_beads, and that's where I get everything. All my Twitch, Discords, and whatever.
Nice, nice. Um, how about you, Swampgrass? Where can we find you, bud?
Yeah, for me, basically just Twitch, twitch.tv/swampgrass420. And I do have a Discord. I don't have a link ready at the moment, but yeah, if you guys check me out on Twitch, we can. There's a link there for my Discord, and yeah, that's pretty much my main spot. Come check it out.
Okay. As far as me, I mean, you guys know me as Darth Eldor. You can find me here on Twitch at this channel right here, twitch.tv/Darth_Eldor. Or you can usually find me throwing some weird, silly opinion up on Twitter at some point at twitter.com/Darth_Eldor. And yeah, just glad to do this again. Just a couple shout outs real quick before we finish this. To Big Guys and Depressed Wampa, thank you for the follows. Just thanks for hanging around, being a part of the experience, and glad to have you here for the live version. And just I think it's just been a great time. So, just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us for this episode of the Shadow Collective podcast. I'm not sure if you guys will be around in a couple weeks, but if so, we'll get back together in a couple weeks. Start covering a couple more episodes of the Bad Batch. Maybe even get into a couple episodes of Mandalorian. Start really having some fun with that stuff. But we'll be back soon for episode 5. And thank you to everybody who's joined us live or decides to listen to this afterwards. And thanks again. The Force will be with you always.